Good morning, everyone. We are ready, streaming and recording.
Okay, thank you, Lauren. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the City of Alpharetta's Design Review Board meeting. Or actually, today is the workshop meeting. We're starting this morning at 8:30. It's October 15th, 2021. So let's take a few minutes to go through our agenda this morning to make sure we have everything we need application-wise for the public hearing that will start at 9 o'clock. So our first applicant we'll hear from this morning is Food Terminal. And so let's see. I'm looking at the who's participated in the past. So Mr. Owens, since you didn't participate apparently in the first discussion we had, you'll be recused from that discussion, from that portion. All right, Brett.
You need me out now?
No, you can say.
Just during our.
Just during the food.
Wishful thinking.
Yeah.
If you'll just not participate as we talk about Food Terminal this morning in the workshop, and then you can excuse yourself when we get to that application in the public hearing. Okay. Food Terminal.
All right, so Food Terminal, we saw them last month and just asked them to work on the front elevation a little bit. We gave them some suggestions and they came back with what staff feels like is some great changes. They brought the wood element around to the front that they have on the side, which is actually their front door, you might say. They also brought the yellow around a little bit to add some color on that front. And then they did do a little awning. Not sure why they didn't, I think I know, but we're not really sure why they didn't wrap the patio elevation around the front. I think that's probably because that front room, remember, is their party room to book. And so that if you wrap that around there, it may not necessarily get serviced real easily if you're not, particularly looking out there for customers. So, but we think it's a nice look. Maybe need to do a little bit of something with the column bottoms there. What we kind of talked about is this element right here, just the bottom part, because you wouldn't want to really fill in this top, but bring this bottom part maybe right here and close it off then back there. So in this portion and then back this way, and it would kind of feel like it flows around but still open if you don't close up above there. So I think it's pretty good. I think it's a pretty good attempt on their part.
I think one thing I'm going to ask them about is their dumpster enclosure. It looks like the doors have been taken off of it, so.
Yeah, that was an early on thing that I told their contractor they were in pretty bad shape when I met their contractor out there a couple of months ago before we started the DRB process, and I told them, like, you might as well just figure on replacing those,
okay.
Or whatever, because they're not going to make it.
I didn't see anything in the package we're looking at.
I didn't either, but they may be
like
going back with what they had, which is why they're not submitting, but I think it's a good thing to ask. Yeah.
Okay, very good. All right, any questions about Food Terminal this morning? All right, there being none, so then the next application we'll hear from or see or look at is Holmes.
So,
Restaurant.
Holmes wants to enclose their patios. I got some comments from the city consultant, and it just doesn't really fit well to the architecture with the angled. We worked really hard when this got built with these to keep these
kind of tapered
column tops and stuff. Mm-hmm. And filling in between them or behind them just doesn't work well. I mean, in one thing, you see that you got this wide board here, you're going to have that at each one of them. And their other option, not really sure where option 2 went or option 1 went.
Yeah, I only saw one.
It's like it loses it once it gets past the top of the column, then it just sort of, the architecture goes away. It's just the patio cover
Yeah.
at the top
yeah.
of it.
So the options basically are really where they place it. And so in one, you can see they've placed it completely inside the columns.
Yes.
And the other one, they're putting it between. So I don't know. I think, oh, here's option one. I got them out of order somehow. So you see how wide these get? And no matter what you do, you're not gonna, I think you lose this bottom here. When they're shifted down, you're gonna have a double pane down there and probably some sort of encasement or something.
That looks like the same picture.
Just weren't,
It's very close to the same picture. It's just they put the glass now as in the center of the tapered columns rather than behind it.
So what is a triple hung window? I've heard a double.
Well,
so you got a pane, and a pane.
yes.
Oh, that's gotta be a pain.
But they say, Brett, they say sliding. So a sliding,
They slide down.
well, the hung,
Oh, so they
Typically,
can
they would
open up.
slide sideways, but
when you say sliding though, they go sideways.
Yeah.
So a hung goes up and down, sliding goes horizontal, so.
so I don't know. I think it's a great attempt at something better than the rolled plastic,
They'll be able to use it during the winter too.
which is the, winter and anything inclement, because this portion, even though not attached to the structure, this portion has that, folding louvered roof that if it is raining, they can close that louvered roof and it sheds the water as well. And then clearly underneath the patio, or underneath the roof structure here, you wouldn't get wet.
Well, in
So,
this picture, they don't show a window between the structures, but in some of the drawings, there's a window
Yes, they do.
there.
in here,
Yes. No,
No,
the other
over
way.
to the right,
Next-
between the two, between the,
here?
yeah.
Yes, they've got glass there as well.
But in other places,
yeah,
they show glass.
well, it's not attached at the roof. This portion is not attached to the house.
Right.
Yes, but they
At the
show
roof line.
But they're
glass.
showing
They do
glass.
show glass there, which
I don't know
still
how to
doesn't,
do it.
still doesn't attach it as far as any other codes would go. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess the one inside the glass preserves the column look a little bit more.
Yes, it does. Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, because I think when you add this really wide thing here and it's squared off,
Totally changes
has to
the look.
be, it
yeah.
totally changes the
Yeah,
look.
yeah. But then how does it, I wonder how it works when you put it inside. What is it supported by? They must put it.
Itself,
4x4 posts.
itself, so they have 4x4 posts inside the other posts.
Inside, yeah, okay, I see.
We were just on, yeah, but it's,
And it slides down?
And it slides down. They don't really want that version because you lose table space,
this isn't,
Yeah.
No, it
but
doesn't. I agree.
yes, I don't mind, even down below. It's all consistent.
and to me, I don't know, if you went with that version where it's inside the whole thing, couldn't this glass panel go all the way over? Why do we need the blank at the side?
Yeah, I would think you wouldn't.
This blank right here, Richard?
Yeah.
Is that
If
what
the
the
glass
column is?
panel is completely behind, or the structure is behind the columns, why couldn't this portion also be behind?
Because
the
that's probably the length of the windows.
Wonder if that's the
Probably only
right.
goes so far.
You look at the base of the column, it's much bigger than the tapered column, and so you can't put anything, you gotta offset from the base of the column, that's why.
They're probably custom made widths, though, I would think.
You look at the floor plan, you can understand, yeah, you zoom in on that right-hand corner right there, Brett.
Here?
Yes, you can see why they've had to put that mullion where they did. Because
Why is that?
that's the base of the column.
Oh, that
right
one,
there.
yeah. I
So-
could see that one, and
Think
so
it just-
then this one could disappear, this
Yeah, yeah,
disappears.
right.
All of them but the two corners,
So why can't it just be one 4x4 post in the corner?
because you gotta have one going each direction. I don't know if it would support it,
If it's enough support?
yeah.
especially if you've got a wind load.
Yeah.
Then I wonder if, with a triple hung, when it goes down, where's that horizontal element gonna be in relation to the railing?
I think.
If it's below
yeah,
the railing, I think it'd be fine. If it's above the railing, it would look strange.
I think they're kind of indicating with how dark it is here that it would be below.
Below, okay. Yeah, if it is a 4x4 post that you see, it's not attached to the column, and it's gonna be kind of behind the column. It's not nearly as visible as putting it in the center with the piece.
Yeah, and it's really only gonna, this one I think could be narrower than this one, the way Richard was just explaining it.
Yeah.
Or it could be more hidden. Well, that's in the center though. So in this scenario, the glass is in the center of the tapered columns.
Oh, yeah, this is the wrong picture for the.
Magnifying.
This is the picture for the
That should,
other,
oh,
one. And
it
they
looks-
do, and they don't have it there, so,
yeah.
Right.
I still use.
May just be the rendering.
I don't know.
It looks more substantial than it probably is, and
Okay. All right. I
All
think
right.
we've, all right, next up will be Brixmore, the Mansell.
So
crossing.
Brixmore,
Here we go.
Ms. Palmer and I met with them out there. They have probably 90% painted this center.
another forgiveness.
Yes.
Yeah, and so it looks pretty decent
You were out there?
compared to what it did because it was that real pinky orange brick mostly, and it had some infill here and there.
Lunch?
Brent, I think I take exception to 90%. I don't know that they've done 90%
They've done 90% of what they're gonna do.
because I
They
was,
don't own some of the spots,
Oh.
so they're not doing those.
They don't own Michael's
Home goods.
Goods or the Garlington
Or the Burlington,
Oh
they
my
do
goodness.
own REI, but they're leaving it alone. They don't own Macy's, but they did, or they do own
They
Macy's,
own Macy's, but they were not gonna paint that one building.
but they did submit it.
Okay, good.
So,
And they don't have the Bye Bye Baby section.
yeah, the first part off.
I understood that, yeah, because there's an alleyway or there's a
Yeah.
driveway between those, okay. So they don't own the whole, they don't own every,
Right,
So it's gonna be painted except, and then you have that eyesore of Michael and Michael's.
yeah,
well, Michael's is the one that's got the brick, that's got the stained brick, and it looks like it's a patched.
yeah.
They tried to stain the brick and the stain hasn't lasted.
Yeah, and so what Holly and I did is went out and tried to evaluate whether we could take the colors that they were already using, add some more of the colors in different places, and it work out pretty decent. So they have two of these kind of features. One on this end of their thing and one on the other end. And so we discussed with them going with the darker gray, which would match the new furniture that they've put out there, new benches, new trash cans, things like that. It matches those. These roofs, these metal roofs are all getting painted black. Any of the shingled roofs that aren't already black are getting changed to black.
So Brett, have they done a drawing to explain what you're talking to us?
I think he's gonna bring that.
Because this was a very difficult
Yeah.
application to try to figure out what's going where.
So also TJ Maxx is kind of in the middle, and it was an all white. And so we discussed with them making it again a darker, get it featured up kind of look, and so they went with that. So and then the Macy's, these portions here, well, the whole building other than this is that peachy brick. So we talked them into doing these two in the darkest color, and then doing the water table, which they're out there, it does change materials, doing the water table and then doing the white that they have on the rest of the center. I like it. I think once they get all the roofs black, once they get the two corners and the center, the dark gray, I think it'll work.
I hope they bring some where we can see all of it.
Yeah, what's painted, what's not painted.
It is hard to grasp. Out there, it was
Yeah,
even a
I
little
was-
bit difficult until we backed way up and we could kind of see it.
I'm glad they're gonna leave REI, because I think that looks great.
REI is staying what it is, Burlington is staying what it is. I'm gonna work really hard on the one next to Burlington, which used to be that home decor thing.
Yes, it
Once we
looks,
get this done, now that'll give me some
it looks,
power behind that one. And then we're also gonna try to work on the Michaels and Home Goods owners.
That'd be wonderful, which they're gonna feel like a sore thumb.
They will feel like a sore thumb, yeah.
and
Whether
they
they'll
are-
care or not is another story, but, yeah.
And and then phase two, they're also doing landscaping, and they wanna mimic kind of what REI has done.
Yeah, phase two is some landscaping, and we've already had a couple discussions with staff and them about that, so they're
Those
moving
little
forward.
boxwoods gone, you know, the very dated shrubs, scream I was built in
I mean, I can see
1990.
why they're, sorry.
No, you're good.
I can see why they're trying to update, just because everybody around has, but the plain white, just, I was by the
Yeah.
other day, I was like, this
Yeah, yeah, it's rough, but I think I think Holly came up with a pretty good scheme and get that kind of the big middle with TJ Maxx and then the two ends kind of flanking it. I think it'll pull it together. So this was Macy's before, and then this would be Macy's after. I think it's a nice update.
Can you go to the before?
Pat's wondering why I didn't get to wear a badge.
Well,
Deputized.
you've been deputized already.
so
Be careful what you wish for.
there's this section of the center
So they have it.
that has all the stone, that all they're doing is trim colors. And that's already done. They just did the lighter gray trim colors.
And they also are planning on these, brick bases.
Yeah,
Oh,
Several of them are being removed.
but they're everywhere. I mean,
almost
there are
every,
lots of
almost
those.
everywhere around the center, any of these that are raised are going away. There are some that there are more problems with that are gonna be phase one removals. They're not removing, well, they're gonna change the landscaping, but they're removing the base, but it'll still remain a landscaping bed.
So it'll just be replaced with concrete, or?
It'll be grade level.
6-inch curb, right?
Yeah, 6-inch curb on the front, but then it'll be more, you know, instead of like, this is a pretty small one, but there are a couple
Oh, they're
that
tall.
get
Some that's like giant.
even bigger, you know, so,
They're on the right, they wanna do some, the calmer those, they wanna do those.
Brett, did you say they've done the Macy's store or not?
they've not done the
They've
Macy's.
not, yeah.
So this is what it would this is current, and then, so they'll do this in the dark gray. And we've all thought with the black roofs, they have that advantage of having that hipped roof there visible to break up the white top and bottom. If it weren't there, it'd be a bigger issue, I think.
And those planters are done.
Yeah, these planters, like how tall they are, that,
I hope they have a good drawing to show us this morning.
we'll see.
So the planters, is that part of the approval this morning, getting rid of the planters and the roof colors, the roof change? It sounds like it all
I don't
goes
think
together.
we need to approve the removals because there's maintenance issues with them. It's not the planter, it's the landscaping that's there that we need to make sure remains.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking of approval as much as a contingent, as much as a requirement, that to do this painting, because otherwise if you left those planters, it doesn't work, right?
Well, yes, and the ones that they plan for phase two removal are gonna get painted, the dark.
I'm at the end of it, though.
Okay.
The
So it's
ones
either-
that are phase one, they didn't wanna paint, which these two actually right here are phase one.
Yeah, I think they either have to be removed or painted, it just won't fit after the center's painted.
Yes, absolutely.
But that's not part of this. I mean,
So are there-
today it's just paint colors, yes?
Well, the ones that they're gonna paint, will be part of this. The ones that they're,
Right in the
yeah, the ones that they're gonna demo, no, they wouldn't be part of it.
Yeah, I'm saying we should make it a condition though, because I don't think those should be left. Once this is painted, it wouldn't look right.
Well, I mean, you know.
And they're planning to do it anyway, so. And what about the roof color?
Roof color, so this roof color is current. It's black in this picture. These have shingles. So there's like 3 or 4 different spots that have shingles. One of them's already been changed to black shingles. The ones that are not are planned to go to black shingles.
Will it look, is that part of what we're approving today?
Yeah.
It is, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
I mean, it wouldn't necessarily have to be because replacement of shingles is kind of a maintenance thing, but they are changing color, and I think it further helps that they're changing the color to.
Right. Well, I'm wondering, would it look okay if they didn't change the color, if they were
No.
still brown, right? Okay, so I think it should be part of it then.
Yeah.
I think the TJ Maxx is not done, right? You can't see it.
Yeah, you can't see it. I can't remember which one hadn't been done yet.
Oh,
But you know, in their packet though, all they talk about is colors. They don't talk about landscaping, roofing, so that's why I was asking, are we approving this?
Approving the
yeah,
what?
we got
The roofing stuff, the landscape.
Oh, I don't know that I was quite clear on Mr. Hunter, but we'll clear that up. I mean, hopefully he'll have a sample, but I mean, it was
I mean, I know
We'll see.
that's what we talked about.
yeah, yeah.
We need a clear overview of everything.
That's-
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully we'll.
All right,
you're clear?
moving on. Morgan and Morgan
People run out of money.
Okay, Morgan and Morgan.
is coming to the Alpharetta. We really need a new center name for that.
Yeah, no
To the
kidding.
owner about that. It's coming to the Alpharetta Center.
They forgot it's Alpharetta.
They have Haynesbridge Center. It's right here.
Oh, great.
How about that?
That's better.
The page.
They're coming to the Haynesbridge Center.
Sounds weird.
They're already, I might even be through their build out, and they would like their traditional yellow and black signage. I told them that I couldn't approve the yellow. I could approve it white and not come to design review board. Their sign company, who's a great sign company, and I know that Danny worked hard on them. And they just said, no, we'd rather go and talk to the board about keeping our yellow. So,
So Cork and Cleaver is already up.
Cork and Cleaver's there.
Yes.
Viva Chicken will be coming to you guys because I'm gonna force them there because of the orange. If they change that, which I've started talks with them, if they change the orange to white, then I'll approve it.
But they haven't,
What about the little chicken guy?
they
I
haven't
mean, it's
started,
part of their logo, so
they haven't started construction on that.
they've not started construction. They're getting close. They're really close. They have their LDP, so they're really close.
Okay.
And we are getting that landscaping in the front,
I like it.
all the way across that
Good.
front, so.
Good, good.
Orange is less offensive than the yellow.
Yeah, so the Morgan and Morgan is here to ask for the yellow.
There's no character to the Morgan and Morgan sign.
It's like the phone book.
I think we would get in trouble with Mr. Chiropractor that we denied yellow if we approved it.
Yes.
I think you guys are also
And Subway, we
Okay,
Subway was the
Okay.
same way.
all right, on to SEDG Investments.
Sedgwick Garage, so they made some awesome changes. So you can see they fixed the modern looking window rears and they've bricked the entire building.
Yes, they have.
So I think that they added a window on this, they added faux on this side. We kind of had a little bit of question on here. So I think I think they did everything we asked them to do.
It gives it much more of that mercantile look.
Yes,
It gives
does.
much more character on that side.
Well said.
I personally, I'm still hung up on this being a parking garage with nothing but windows. Every other parking garage we do, we go to great lengths to not have the cars show. And this is a parking garage.
Well said.
That's,
Sales garage or something.
I mean, what if somebody else comes and says, I'm gonna build a parking garage, but it's only gonna be high-end cars parked in there. All my tenants are high-end, they have Mercedes and Audis, and they're all nice cars, so,
Yeah.
Frank,
Now, where do you draw
it's a
the-
showroom, Frank.
Yeah.
But remember last time, Kathy was saying something about changing overlay for the city to help that situation?
Yeah, yeah, it's something now that, he's said what it is, so, and what's gonna be there, so I think we can hold him to that. If it changes to something else, then I think we've got an argument, if nothing else, to bring it back
Part
here.
of the signage.
Do we make that as part of the
We can.
approvals if we do,
Should.
or?
I think we should put something in there about, yeah.
I think
It's
what
up
he's
to
gonna
Brett.
do is a good idea, and by conditioning it, yes, I get that we can't control down the road in 20 years, and I actually agree with that, support that. But that doesn't necessarily mean we should not allow them to do it now, in my opinion.
I agree.
Well, in the last discussion, we said we couldn't condition it on that, so that's where I was hung up. If we can condition it on, here's what we're gonna see behind those windows, then
You're not conditioning a use,
Right.
No.
conditioning the look.
the look, right.
So if the look changes with the new use, you get from that.
Frank, I do agree. I'm just afraid what you're gonna see inside the Tinker Toy set.
Well, the other stuff, yeah.
All the other stuff that's gonna be in there besides the cars, it's gonna be not very
Maybe it's the cars that can.
aesthetically, architecturally aesthetics.
He's about the lifts and the catwalk and all that kind of stuff.
6.
12. I think he's got double rows, right?
Yep.
Oh, yeah,
Or
sorry.
double.
He's got, 4. 4 on each, 12 cars.
That's amazing.
Okay, let's,
All right.
keep going here.
PRIM residential.
So that is the Amarants out front. They, on this elevation, which actually is right there.
Street.
Yes.
They want to add an awning. And I told them, technically, we need to come here. What you see in the packet is now, as of yesterday afternoon, when the ownership showed up, not what they want to do. So she is bringing with her this morning a new awning that they want to do in this location,
Just for this site.
just for this site. It's one awning, one location.
So right now they have kind of a horizontal louvered,
Yeah.
if you want to call it awning or
But so
structure.
that's the residential walk-in entrance, and they want people to be able to maneuver their bags or whatever, get to the door handle without getting,
Getting wet. Because right, they've got those 3 of those all across there.
yeah.
Okay.
We have a bigger picture, or maybe they'll bring one, of what it'll look like with the awning.
Yeah.
Because this straddles the corner, right?
No, it's
It's
facing City Hall.
flat.
It's directly facing City Hall here.
It's, so.
But it's on the corner.
Well,
The suite is, but not the awning. So the corner, the chamfered corner is right here.
Yes.
Okay, so it's on the side facing, so we're just talking about the side facing City Hall?
I
not the-
believe so.
Not the other side?
I don't believe the other side, no. I believe it's just this one right here.
Okay.
We can clarify that with them, but I believe it's just this one. So when they sent it, this is what they have.
Yep.
They kind of liked that style.
But they didn't show that style.
Then they kind of liked one that was open. They thought maybe they would go to fabric. They were just trying to think of what they could, and then this one is a standing seam metal. I didn't like the open ends on this
Like
one.
open ends either.
I thought it looked a little odd. I don't know, I just didn't really like that. I thought the fabrics looked okay. But, and then they were thinking about a flat. Yeah, I like this one,
Yep.
yeah.
That's a little bit harder to do. Yeah, with the tiebacks, the cabling that you got.
That's where the epoxy comes in, right?
Not that one. It's not that strong. Okay. Anything else on
Next.
PRIM residential? And then we got TPA 400, the residential component, the landscaping for the residential component.
Is it just the landscaping on that, it looked like?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, any questions on that? Brett's, oh, and going back, so Richard,
So this one is,
yeah, you'll have to.
That's why I didn't know. Okay, yeah, familiar with that.
Okay, all right.
this is the, excuse me, townhome section of the Lakeview 400. So the multifamily building in this plan is over here. They've got some townhomes on this end and then this townhome here, and we've not seen this portion out here, which is another retail restaurant site. We've not seen that one yet. This plan does show, Mr. Corkle, one of your requirements and questions was the landscaping along here, and they've begun to show the double row, because this was gonna be the multi-purpose fields, and we wanted more screening, so this plan starts to show that. It's full. I got a plan the other day that shows it completely.
And this was that condition where they could not put street trees in because of underground utilities, right?
There's something with that.
I don't remember for sure what that was.
Well, if you don't remember, I know I don't remember.
Right.
Sure you do.
So here's the overall site. So you got 2 townhome sites. So we're not gonna look at every single townhome. They're gonna bring just a couple of examples. Every single one. So they're gonna bring a couple examples of some different sites, and then we'll look a little heavier at this interior portion here and the streetscape.
There we go. That's where we're gonna look at every one of those.
1, 2, 3.
Yep.
So some suggestions that also came up that I don't know that we're gonna probably get to in this plan or in this meeting was we asked them to look at adding some tree coverage in their amphitheater area and some things, but I think that'll possibly come back at a later date.
Okay, any other questions on
And that's it.
TPA 400? Anything? All right, the workshop session's hereby adjourned. All right, go get your coffee cups filled up. Get ready for our public hearing here in just 2 minutes, or 3 minutes. All right. Got this opened up.
That's amazing that Sedgwick's building.
Doesn't feel like it.
To plug in on that. Hey, how are you? Actually, you can take this and set that out there, and you can display those right on that. Set it kind of right there by the podium.
guys for bringing it back up.
Yeah, just in case. Last time
I know. Brent, do you mind to switch it and see if it'll work? Right. Oh, that's the dot cam.
Oh, what are you looking for?
Plugged into laptop. Uh-huh.
Got their screen on? Let me switch to another one here, see if it's.
I don't either.
Speaking of him,
Look at this.
towards the back.
It wouldn't be hard to do for them to just put a couple of faux windows in there. Wouldn't add a lot of expense and break it up. You'll see when we look at it go around the side. The only thing I thought was that this thing out this way.
Holly and Darden both have children who ride.
They have what?
They may know each other through the horses. They have daughters who ride.
No.
Okay, I did get a chance to. I don't know whether everybody else did or not.
No, we're just doing next time. I just happened to catch it last night. It took out.
This part.
Right there, yeah. That's a good sign. Just think a couple of faux.
Maybe several. That's hard to.
Yeah. 3 maybe, 4. I don't like big plain brick walls.
Restricted content.
Have you guys seen that?
On your machine, but not, I got mine.
SESI, yes.
It's about putting restricted content.
Because it moved from over there to over here already. You know what I mean?
This presentation is rated up.
Yeah. I guess they're gonna have to come back. It's gonna have to come back. All of a sudden, a bunch of corn come up. Probably vote for Mitchell, and I'm thinking Brian will, but I don't know.
I don't know the others.
I know he used to be a council person. All right.
So he's got experience.
Yeah, I don't know the others though.
It's so funny, so many of them are.
I might go over and vote today.
I was thinking about it, I wasn't sure.
All right, we're ready? All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the City of Alpharetta's Design Review Board public hearing. Today is October 15th, 2021. welcome. Glad you're here this morning. A gentle reminder to make sure that your electronic devices are either in the off or silent position, please. We'll do that. All right. First item of business this morning is roll call. Everyone is here. All members are present, so thank you for being here this morning. And no alternates, but we've got, we're here. All right, let's stand, face the flag, and we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you for that. All right, next item, any items from staff this morning?
Sorry, we were just snickering because I just found the flag a little bit ago.
Oh, thank you, Brent.
I could see you standing and looking, where's the flag?
Are you facing that way? Face the clock, face the base?
The flag was missing. It's here.
Oh.
Okay, very good.
Oh, okay.
Glad you found
Might
it.
want to put a tractor on that flag next time.
So I don't know, yes, we do have one sad bit of news
Yeah,
from staff.
very
I don't know
upsetting.
which ones of you have heard yet, but Miss Lauren will be leaving us.
No.
She will be staying with the city. She is our newly appointed, or will be appointed, I believe, Monday, city clerk.
So 2 or 3 meetings was enough for you, huh?
I think the board of,
What did you do, Brad?
Can we vote on it?
yes, I told Brett we have to vote on it
Yeah, I
first.
All the Xanax she had to take after these meetings.
Her direct supervisor, Michael Woodman, and I are probably the two saddest people in the city right now. But we're very happy for Lauren. It's exactly what she was trained to do, what she wanted to do eventually. It just came, I think, a little quicker than what she had hoped. But the opportunity came along.
You know what, that's okay, but she still has to do the minutes for our,
Well, Lauren and I actually, since she is the city clerk, and the clerk is responsible actually for recording meetings, we're gonna work on some sort of
job sharing?
plan, there'll be some job sharing, and maybe she will be here for a meeting or two randomly, but there's some good opportunity to improve the position of recording meetings, all public meetings. So Lauren, I think Lauren will take that under her wing and help out, and, maybe if her Friday morning isn't quite so busy, she'll just pop in and do it herself, so.
Well,
We
I
have-
think the expectation is different now, fast, so as long as you find a replacement like you.
Well, congratulations.
There is,
We're happy.
Absolutely.
We're happy for you.
Congratulations, Lauren.
Thank you, happy for you.
Best of luck.
Being with you guys, so.
Thank you. Thank you for your service. Okay, anything else, Brett? No more sad news.
No, no, I don't think so. I think that's all.
How about some good news?
Remember that it is voting season for y'all. Actually, it's for me too in my area, so, get out and vote. Early voting is open.
Yes, it is.
The library is one of the locations, so
Early and often.
early and often. I think that's it.
Okay, very good. All right, any items from board members this morning?
Y'all should go across the hall and look at the Milton Art exhibit for the 100th anniversary for Milton High School.
Cool,
And
very
look
good.
at my daughters while you're in there.
Of course. Do we vote for it, or
Only
that
if
what
you
this
vote-
is
Only if you
about?
vote for my daughters.
Early and often.
early and often? Yeah.
Yes, it's really cool though. It's really interesting to go and check out all the artwork for
Very good.
students.
Good, okay, we'll do that. All right, anything else from board members? All right, there being none. Okay, next item is to approve both our August 20th, 2021 and/or our September 17th, 2021 meeting minutes. So let's start with the August 20th, 2021 meeting minutes. I assume everyone's had a chance to look at the draft minutes that Lauren's prepared for us. Can I get a motion to approve such, please?
I move that we approve the August minutes.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Owens and second by Mr. Corkle. Any comments or questions about the minutes? There being none, all in favor of approving the City of Alpharetta's Design Review Board meeting minutes dated August 20th, 2021, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, all opposed, no opposition. Minutes are approved, 7-0. Very good. Okay, and I know Lauren was pretty diligent about working on the September 17th meeting minutes. Now, I'll have to admit, I haven't had a chance to look at them since they were published, so I don't know about other board members. Has anybody? Okay, that's all right. Okay.
We need a motion to defer?
So let's just, yeah, we'll defer the minutes
Just,
until.
can I give you one change under Sedg, landscaping? The landscaping motion, the last one, it says, Board Member Corkle offered a motion to defer. It just doesn't have landscaping in there. Okay? That's the only thing I noticed.
You can't just defer nothing.
Okay, very good. Thank you for looking at those, Frank, then. Okay, so let's be diligent. Next meeting in November, let's make sure we've reviewed the September meeting minutes, and we can approve those as well at the November meeting. Okay. All right, on to new business this morning. Our first applicant is Food Terminal. Good morning, you're here, welcome. If you will introduce yourself, make sure you speak into the microphone, and then give us an overview of what we have in our packet this morning, please.
Sure. Good morning, guys. This is Tao Lin, representing Food Terminal Alpharetta. I'm the main designer and the project manager. So I remember last time while we were here, we were giving the comments to revise the front side of the exterior building a little bit, because that's the side that's facing the street. So that's the part that we were focusing on for the past couple weeks to have it addressed. And then some of the comments were adding some of the orange awnings that's already been favored by some of you guys on the side to bring it up to the front. So that's what we initially did on part of it, and also merging some of the wood texture materials to the front as well. Due to the technical difficulty of connecting the computer, we'll just pass on the board so you guys could see.
Y'all need to see this?
Yeah, I mean, this is pretty good.
You good?
You can hold them up for you guys?
And are these the same that we have up on the monitor here? As they come around, or are they different?
For the most part, and one thing that I want to add is that thank you, Brad, for questioning about the door for the dumpster. We actually did add it up to the side. So that's like, it's like a wooden closure to kind of just close it up. Okay, because that's how it was before, and now we're just, bringing it back. Maybe need to repair a little bit of the concrete block to make it work, but that's what we're planning to do.
As we look at your boards now, do you have the actual color samples with
Yes.
you? Okay, if you'll pass those around. Oh, there they are,
Right,
okay.
yeah, sorry.
So this is the.
Yeah, that's for the awning, yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's what Richard was saying. It needs to be the same yellow.
So the dark secret is the brick?
Yes, that's a paint color.
I'll tell you what, Katie, why don't we do this? Why don't we have them hold one of these boards up, and they can identify the different color samples and materials.
Got him down there, that's all right.
So give us just a minute, to finish the boards up. Yeah, once Mr. Brown and Mr. Swing finish looking, why don't you take a couple of the boards, and then if you can hold up the material sample and the board and just show us kind of a show and tell. Does it match the yellow sign?
Does it? I don't know. Good question.
You want me to just give them this?
Yeah, we'll probably just let them hold that up then.
Coffee doesn't
It's
taste
a yellow sample.
My coffee doesn't taste right. I mean, I made it. I brought, no.
Here's the material. I'll let
We
you
like
know.
to,
It's in this good.
Mr. Chairman, could we look at those?
The little,
Let them hold them up.
it's from the same font, same creamer.
Yes, he is.
Right.
Okay.
That's the real question. Is this the same yellow on this sign? you can have the samples back now so you can
Sure.
show us where those are on the drawings.
So, as far as the material, most of the other material you guys saw last time, this is the new that we brought it in, which was missing from last time, which is for the only.
So is that the signs and the awnings are the same?
No,
Okay.
it's just the awning. Sign is just channel letters, usually they have.
I mean, the color, are they the same?
Yeah, color-wise.
Because a lot of these, the
Right.
food is a bright
Yeah.
yellow and the awnings aren't.
Right, the food inside, usually the way that we do it is that we have the transparent yellow decal, like putting on top of overlaying the semi-clear acrylic. So when it lights up, it shows the color that it's not the actual light color. The color is actually just white, but because of the transparent decal, so that's the color that you see.
So the color of the sign will match the awning?
Yes.
At nighttime, because you're saying the sign is white during the daytime.
No, actually.
No, it's yellow.
Because at the daytime, you can't really see the light. What you see is the color of the decal.
Okay.
Yeah, so at nighttime, it's like what we need to just do is just to match the color. So at nighttime, with the light being lit up inside, you see the exact color that you see from the daytime.
So it's illuminated at night.
Yeah.
At that time, you don't see the awnings. At nighttime, you wouldn't see the awnings so much.
You'll see the awnings.
And then the white color, just like plain white color acrylic.
So Brett, have you seen this sign yet? No, okay. All right, talk to us about the materials then. You've got some material samples, if you'll just walk us through those.
This material is for, it's made out of aluminum with a brown color. It's for the architectural, like louvered roof that we can choose to open and close due to the weather and needs. So during like 20 days, we can just fully close it, so it shuts off completely.
So that's over your patio area,
Right,
is what you're saying?
That's for the patio area.
Okay,
That's where it goes.
the outdoor patio,
Yeah,
okay.
so that's, because that's the only material that we can't really customize because they have like default colors. And this is closest to our business theme color. So we're trying to kind of match this color a little bit on the accent wall here on the little right-hand side.
Is that the same color as the trim on the windows of the patio area as well? On the trim where the windows are on the patio? Yes.
Oh, no, these are just all the right color, kind of go along with the building color.
More like
Right.
the blackish?
Right,
Okay.
more of a blackish.
Okay, thank you.
So, all right, the base of the patio wall, the low wall, knee wall around the patio, is that brick?
Yes.
Okay, that's painted brick?
Painted brick, yeah,
Okay,
just to match the existing.
okay.
brick.
Sorry, I have another question.
Yes.
So you mentioned that the roof was retractable? So it moves?
Retractable, yeah.
No, it's just louvered.
Open.
Just-
Right. Oh, it just tilts out?
Right,
like
yes.
you-
Tilts out,
Okay,
yeah.
got it, thank you.
Yeah, so you get some sunlight
Sure.
if you want, but it's not.
All right, show us the other samples that you've got there, please, and where they go on the building.
And then, this is a Transplant Panel. It's like architectural panel. It's weatherproof, pretty much like all proof. Mimicking the wood texture of it. So they have their own system, kind of offsetting it a little bit from the wall with the furring channels. So all the water leaks in within the gap and just flows it out.
And where is that material being used?
That material is being used the actual front entrance of the
Okay.
building, which is the side of this building. And also, we're just continuing the design elements to the front of the building, which is facing the street, but it's actually using as just an emergency exit for our party room.
Okay, all right, and then what color are you painting the brick?
It's painted in dark gray. The color is called Dark Secret.
Okay, because I notice out there right now, it's a very light, much
That
lighter,
one is just,
light gray color.
Prime. It's a primer.
Okay,
Yeah. They just need to prime it before we can actually do any colors to it.
okay,
Yeah.
very good. And then where the sign is over the patio area. It looks like that's mounted on some sort of a louver of some sort.
It's like,
Kaboom.
it's made out of metal handrails. So it looks like handrails, but actually we're just using it as like a structure to hang the channel letters, the signage, and also to kind of blocks the visibility of the existing roof shingles.
So do you have a sample of that or what that looks like?
That's just, it's gonna be the similar material as, it's made out of like steel and then just powder coated with the same color. We're just trying to match everything, all the colors with the same grayish color we have, so.
And you're also doing that on the other side where you have the 4 or 5 awnings.
Right. So what we're doing is not changing the structure of the building, but just to adding some accents. So from people's perspective, they see it more of a modern building rather than a building that has only like one side brick covering all the.
Because the existing roof on your, the primary roof is a gabled shingled
Right.
roof.
Yeah.
So what you're trying to do is conceal that?
Yes.
Okay.
But without like modifying the gutter and everything, so it's still.
So let me ask you a real quick question for the board's clarity. So we haven't talked about signage really yet with the tenant, so there may be some change in this side. So I want to ask a question. If you don't have a sign on what you're calling side D, will you still do that treatment at the roof to be cohesive around the building?
Yeah, that's actually just the overall design.
Okay, because we're going to talk about 3 signs. They don't need to get approved here, but we'll talk about 3 signs and the size of that. We have to do some calculations between you and I to see how big that's going to be, and based on its size, you may want it in a different spot because it's probably going to be smaller. So, but I wanted to clarify, if there's not a sign there, do you still intend to do, because they're showing it, which I think looks nice.
Side D or side B?
Side D. I think
Well,
side
they're not-
B,
There is
they
no,
would
there is
definitely.
no sign on side
Sign on
D.
side D.
No, but the metal, right? You're talking about the metal.
No, Brett's talking about a sign on side D.
I thought I saw.
Go back.
Oh, I was thinking these were the 2 sides. Sorry.
Never mind.
All right.
Never
Okay.
mind.
I thought this was the 2 sides. It's the same. My bad. This is side
A
D.
good point, though, you know, if it were to change, are we okay with that on the building?
Yeah, they're entitled to 3. So,
They are?
yes. So where they put them may,
Okay. Well, if you put a sign on side D right now, you're not going to get very much. There's a bank right there next door to it.
yeah.
And
So
it's the
I would
parking
think,
lot, so
I
it's-
would think more it would be, I don't know, side C or maybe the back side of D. This would face the parking lot back there. It may be on this side. There may be more of an advantage to see it from the target side coming that way. So I'll work with that with them. But my bad on, I thought, yeah.
Okay.
So that railing element at the top, is it see-through like a railing, or is it solid? Is there something behind it?
It's see-through.
It's see-through, okay.
And is that the same thing that's on the left side of the side A
Right.
elevation? Okay, so pulling it all together?
I think we talked about this last meeting. Is there anything going on the roof?
No.
No. Okay, so you won't have any rooftop units, but your air conditioning units will be on the ground somewhere.
So actually, what you guys see from the building, there is actually a flat area on the roof in the back in the kitchen. So right now, the current placement is that they have all the HVAC over there, and the hood units are all in there. So we're just continuing using the same spot.
But it's not gonna be an entrance.
Okay.
The building before was also a restaurant set up, so we're just trying to continue to use most of the kitchen layouts.
And those walls are high, parapet walls are high enough to hide it, so you're not going to see
Right,
the
yeah,
rooftop units?
Yeah, you don't really
You
see.
didn't do a sight line?
Right now, the only thing that you see is actually the shingle. That's one reason we're using the railing to kind of cover,
Right.
but not completely.
That's the-
cover. If we cover it completely, we
That's
don't
the
worry about
back.
the drainage system.
Right, right,
So,
right.
yeah.
North Point's that way.
And the other elevation's actually getting taller.
What's that way?
See anything from that?
Right.
Yes, I like the changes you did to the front. I think that's a huge improvement. Just an additional thought, on side B, which I guess is the side facing the entrance road, if you have.
D or B?
I think it's B. B is in Baker.
Yes.
Yeah, the only thing I was thinking, there's a big expanse of sort of blank brick wall there.
Right.
If we could do something with that to make it a little more interesting, maybe a couple of faux windows bricked in there, or some other element so that it's not just a big blank brick wall. Right, it doesn't need to be anything overly complicated. Just feels like that should be broken up somehow.
So,
Mr.
Brett,
Swing, what if we can talk the applicant into working with the Parks and Rec and Art Commission about doing a mural or something in that area?
I think that'd be fine too.
Rather than tearing out brick to add brick back in
True, right.
to do something.
Right.
I think their kind of mantra with their
That's a good
restaurant may work with a nice.
That's a good idea.
And,
yeah.
and to that point, now that this building is real, I mean, the landscaping got approved before this building was real. So I go back and I look at the landscape and I'm like, maybe some things here and there. Can you work with staff as far as tweaking some of the landscaping to, based on the real building elevations?
Yeah, actually, we're trying to work with our landlord to see if we can, last time one of the comments about it's adding the sidewalk, so we got more visibility from the side as well. And the only comments that we got back from them is that, our design has been approved, so we're already on.
Okay. How best to handle such a thing then, Brett?
I think the best way to handle that is you make a meeting with me and your landlord and say, hey, something about, we think that, it's not quite approved, so let's talk about it, and then I'll fill them in where it is.
But should that be in the approval, so at least you have something with the landlord that,
I think,
yes.
I mean, I think so. I don't know that we can't condition it because they do have an approved plan, so we can't say you have to do something, but I think we can say, definitely now that we have a real tenant and a building, I think you can say evaluate the landscaping with the tenant, and the city.
Because, I mean, when I look at the landscape plan now, you have to look at the building, there's nuances to this building
Yes.
that the landscape needs to relate back to, rather, because it was like the cart
Totally agree.
or the horse, however you want to do it. It's-
Totally
landscaping
agree.
shouldn't have been approved before the building.
And maybe we can add you in that meeting with the tenant, the landlord.
Do I get a badge?
I can arrange, no, I can't.
You can borrow Holly.
Holly's shaking her head, no.
I really like the mural idea,
Oh,
also
speaking of that.
because the theater on that same side in the North Point area, trying to get more of that art.
Yes, and they actually have applied for theirs. I know we're going way off topic, but I just saw it the other day, and it's really cool.
I only say that to encourage the tenant to pursue with the mural. I think that'd be
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah,
We like murals.
We like.
Yeah, we'll get you started down that path a little bit too, and kind of inform you a little bit more about things. So, yeah, we'll talk
Ready for
about it, but
motion.
definitely get your landlord and the three of us together.
all right. Mr. Chairman, regarding DRB 210046 Food Terminal, motion to approve the elevation and materials as presented today with the condition that the applicant work with the Arts Commission on adding a mural on the side B elevation. And a motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Swing, a second by Ms. Rocco. Any further comments or questions about the motion?
Just, do we need to condition, or do we need to mention the landscape portion, working with?
that can be a,
I think we do.
Okay, I'll
So-
do that.
so,
Okay, all right, very good. All right, any other comments or questions about the motion on the floor? There being none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, all opposed? No opposition. Motion passes 6-0. Okay, all right, Mr. Corkle.
All right. And I will offer the motion on Food Terminal DRB 210046 that the applicant work with the landlord and staff on updating the landscape plan based on the nuances of the building elevations.
Second.
End of motion.
Second.
Okay, motion by Mr. Corporal, second by Mr. Brown. Any questions or comments about the motion? There being none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. All opposed? No opposition. Motion passes 6-0. Very good. All right. Thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Great
You're
job.
done doing signage?
All right.
We're not.
Okay. Next up is Holmes Restaurant. You're here. Come on down, please.
Homie?
Yes.
Way to go, homie.
I love murals, especially if you have this big blank slate.
I think Okay, good morning, welcome. If you will make sure you speak in the microphone, introduce yourselves this morning and tell us what we've got today.
I'm David Neary. I own Restaurant Homes, which is housed in the Jones House. And we're a little over 3 years old. And I appreciate you hearing our request this morning. We're at a point with the restaurant where we need to figure out how to increase top-line revenue. And if I can come up with, or we can come up with a way to weatherproof, more or less, outdoor dining, I think I can get somewhere between 10 and 20% more revenue, top-line revenue. I've chosen 15, right in the middle between those two, as my pro forma number. So that's what I'd like to have you help me consider this morning. Please keep in mind, I care as much about maintaining the character of the Jones House as you do. I've got a lot invested. Financially, yes, but emotionally even more, given the last year and a half we've had to deal with. So to that end, I brought back the two familiar faces from the first version of Holmes Restaurant, Tarver Siebert, our architect, and then the man in pink back here, Couch Construction, to carry out whatever we're allowed to do. I think what I'd like to do is turn it over to Tarver. I'm going to step back, but he can get into more of the details, you know, from a professional perspective. Good with that?
Very good, thank you.
Good morning. Thanks for having me here. It's nice to see you all again. So we have been considering for quite a while various strategies for enclosing the patio at Restaurant Homes. The way that we designed it, if you all will recall, is that we copied the columns that are on the existing building. So there are these big, heavy masonry bases. They have a heavy cap and then tapered columns. When we designed the patio, we thought that we may one day want to enclose it. And so we came up with some options back then. We came up with several options now. So we've been tinkering with this for several years, looking at different options, ways to enclose it, and have been really interested in, I think, preserving the main feature of this, which are the columns. There are several other great features of it, but those are probably the sort of character-defining feature. One of the challenges of enclosing this is, well, as David mentioned, that the reason we want to enclose it is just to provide more days that we can use it outside. It has a westerly exposure. A lot of direct sunlight comes in. You can see in the existing condition picture there's a shade that's down there to mitigate some of that sun. We want to put triple hung glass windows all around this thing on 3 sides. It'll still be open to the side of the house. The roof today is operable louvers. So those louvers open in good weather and they close automatically in a storm, and then they open again if the wind blows really hard. So we recognize that there will be some technical things we need to do, sprinkler the patio, that sort of thing. There are heaters on that patio today, which are electric heaters, they're not gas. We may need some ventilation in there. Which will be provided for in the gap between the building and the patio. We recognize this is not part of the house, so we've always kind of maintained some separation between the house and the patio. So then back to so those are some of the parameters. The proposal here is these triple hung windows. The bottom portion of the windows align with the handrail, which is also at guardrail height, which is a code requirement. And that piece will be opaque, so that they'll clean it, but if there's a week when the pollen is really bad and there gets to be something back there, you won't see it from the inside of the restaurant. So the bottom panel will align with the rail and be opaque. The top 2 panels will slide down to align with that in good weather, which will be probably 8 months of the year. And then in the very coldest months, they'll pull it up and stop the wind from coming through. So it won't be completely, totally enclosed. It won't be 100% conditioned. If it's 30 degrees outside, it's probably going to be cold in there.
Tarver, I have a real quick question.
Yes, sir.
While you were right there on that opaque portion, I think it's going to be important that we still feel the depth of that. So what color would you propose that opaque section would be in this? I think if we're going to have an opaque section in the drawing that's up, I think it looks the best with a darker or a different color behind it rather than the color of the rail, because I think then everything looks like one big panel at that point.
Right.
So is there something that you were looking at, or are there options to that, or?
Right, so let me talk a little bit about the color and this rendering, just to stay on this rendering. We did intentionally try to provide some contrast between the side panels. So one thing before that, one of the challenges of the profile of the column with the heavy masonry base, the masonry cap, and then the tapered column is that we can only get so close with the straight edge to the column. So that's why there's the kind of dark shapes that you see directly adjacent to the column. And then we wanted to offset the column so that you can still see the profile of that column, because we spend a lot of time, money, effort on that column. It's a character defining feature. So we want to provide some contrast there. So the darker color is there. It matches the oak on top, on the trellis on the top. And then we would propose to paint the edges dark to provide contrast. And then also that bottom fixed panel would be dark. It would be a color to match that oak. So it's dark gray. It's almost black. So, we're open to talking about it, but that's kind of the philosophy behind it, is to try to create some contrast to really help you be able to see those columns. So if we just stop on the floor plan for a second, you can see that in the plan, the proposed location of these is essentially along the center line of the columns, directly under the big beams that run back and forth. That gives us a place to stop that window system in a logical way. When the windows are down, they more or less go away. They align with the rail. That seems to be the cleanest way to do it. And then we can scroll down to...
Click on the floor plan.
Yes.
If you don't mind. So I was getting the picture, the right side on the floor plan was the only portion getting enclosed. Are you running that glass system all the way across the front? Maybe I'm just now playing catch up.
We are. We're planning to do it on the front porch as well. So that is another, and it's
Okay.
shown in that rendering and in the elevations, but that is the idea. This floor plan that's on the screen now shows those columns, shows the new window system pushed back to be inside the columns. That's an option that could potentially, that's an option. It's not our preferred option, because then you've got this dead space outside of that glass enclosure. We lose probably 4 tables, which are probably around $20,000 per table per year in revenue. And then architecturally, you've got just this kind of dead space between the handrails, between the glass and the rail, and, you know, keeping it clean.
Tarver, I'm gonna go, I put option 1 up here, and then I'll go up to the other one. If you can explain which one goes with the what you just explained, and then which one goes with the between the columns. So
Okay.
we'll start with this one.
Yeah, so this one goes, shows the glass system between the columns, aligned with the center line of the columns. And you can see that at the top, it dies into that existing beam that runs between the columns. And you can also see on the left side, the porch, we're proposing some windows there.
What about that area between the patio and the building? You are or not?
We are not going to enclose that.
Oh, but you show that on your plans.
Yeah,
It's-
on your plan it shows it.
Right.
Well, that shows it, right?
Yeah, we'll have to revise that.
So then this option is the one that sets it back?
This is the one that has it aligned with the,
Scroll down to the title block, or the title just below, let's see.
This is option 2.
yeah, this is, so this is the alternate option, yeah. So this is where it's pushed back. The difference, see, the corner, what's confusing is that the corner, either way you do it, is gonna be visible. Because if it's in that plane that's set in, when you turn the corner, it's got to be set back on both sides because of the thickness of that column. So that corner on the right-hand side, it doesn't really make a difference one way or the other. As it marches down the side of the building, away from the street, then it would be a little, maybe in elevation view, it would be a little cleaner. But I think in every other reality 3D view, it would be, when you're in there, it would be messy, because we'd have to create another soffit up above, and so this is the first option, option 1. You can see there is some wood at either side of the columns, the left and the right of the columns, and I think ultimately this is the cleanest, simplest, easiest, and best solution.
So Tarver, a couple questions for you. Looking at the rendering that we're seeing on the monitors right now, option 1. So the right-hand outdoor patio balcony area, the railing is a certain height, okay? Then you move to the front patio of the building there, the railing is a different height.
Right.
So when you have these triple hung windows, there's some variation there, because what you show is that lower panel of the triple hung window is a fixed aluminum panel. It's not glass.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
So how are you handling,
Down here.
so those triple hung windows aren't, the panes aren't the same size between the patio area and the front porch area, correct?
Right. They would be a little bit lower on the porch area. And so when those are open or pushed down, then I guess you would see a little bit of glass up above, because those panels are, you know, they need to fill that area, so they're half that height. We could probably make that a four, like a quadruple hung window to make those aligned so that they are obscured behind the rail on the porch side, the existing porch side.
Okay. And the purpose of this is for inclement weather or cold weather.
That's right.
So in most cases, they're going to be open, or?
That's correct. Yeah. Yeah, and we're not at this point proposing to change the roof structure, so it's still this louvered system that opens and closes. When it rains really hard, it leaks a little bit. It's not an enclosure, so. And then again, when it's really cold, it'll still be, won't be fully conditioned.
I love the character and the architecture of the house. I'm just trying to figure out how to diminish the impact of this enclosure.
Mm-hmm.
So that it literally goes away or you don't see it.
Right, we've looked at a lot of different options for enclosing this. We've looked at, could we do shutters, like kind of plantation shutter style enclosure that fold out and then fold away. The issue is they've always got to go somewhere when they fold away. We've looked at fixed panels, but there's a real storage issue in here, and where would those fixed panels go when you take them away? There's always the profile of that column to deal with, which is one of the great things about the structure, but when we want to butt up against it, it makes that difficult. And our hope and desire is also, we want to see those columns. I mean, that's what we want to see.
Mm-hmm.
But we also want to keep the restaurant viable.
So in doing triple hung windows, again, I'm looking at the right-hand patio, outdoor patio area. So it's essentially a set of two triple hung windows just side by side. I mean, they're 5 or 6 feet wide. Is that what they are?
Yes, sir. That patio is, that's about right. They're about 6 feet wide. So they would be heavy, they'd be tempered glass, because we looked at vinyl. They could be vinyl or other things, but the glass seems to be the best. It's easy to clean. It'll last a long time. It's high quality.
I know you don't have it here, but that shutter option almost, to me, seemed like an option that maybe could remain all the time and open and close. I mean, if you think, we've got a house looking there, and if that were your home, you might do that and just leave them there all the time and open and close. Other question, clarity, those remain all the time?
Those would, yeah, because that window system would slide up and down those, and they need two parallel faces to run.
So it's not a portion of the window that goes away when the window's not up?
That's right. That's correct.
What I was wondering, just thinking out loud here, can that panel, instead of being a panel, be glass? Wonder if that would make it go away more. I mean, I know you have to.
Wood?
Yeah, the wood. I know you have to have a rail for the window to slide on.
Yeah, that's.
Between that rail and the post, if that was glass instead of a.
To me, I think that part's gonna look odd when the panels are closed or down. And you still have this kind of wing hanging on that very angular or tapered column.
That wing? That's what I'm hung up on.
That's wood.
But what are we calling that portion? Because I was looking at your detail.
Right.
And it's not necessarily called out. I think it reads out as plywood.
Yeah, we've got it. We're just thinking because it's going to have to be scribed. I mean, we want to scribe it to the.
If you want to plug it into the column, right?
Right. And
that's the thing I'm hung up on.
Right.
Is you've got this fenestration of the column.
Yeah.
And whatever we're going to call that structure that you have to go from scribed to straight.
Right.
Is what are we calling that? And I think is what I'm hung up on is the fenestration of that, where it doesn't look like a piece of plywood that's plugged into this elevation in the scribe.
Yeah.
Called a filler panel. We're going to call it a filler panel.
So what happens, Tarver? So this elevation is showing it between the columns,
right,
when it's on the screen. So what happens to those? Even though I don't know if the board wants option 2 or is thinking, what happens though when you go inside to that? Is that less obvious then because you're not attaching directly to the columns.
Right, then the problem kind of changes. So we would pull it in, we'd have to set a new, at the corner particularly, is where there's a problem. And so in that other elevation, or the plan probably shows it pretty well. You see, we have a 4x4 wooden column in that floor plan. Let you can scroll to it, thank you. So you can see, and we did look at pulling it in, and so we would need something to set that window against and plan, and at the top over your head would have to attach to something. So we could have a much cleaner window-to-window joint and window-to-column connection, but now it's set essentially 2 feet back from the rail. So our patio becomes 2 feet smaller, and we would have a new column. Essentially, we would set new columns behind the existing ones to hold this window system. And then we'd have to set a new beam below the existing louvered roof system. So while it may be cleaner from the elevation, I think that once you're a year into this thing and you've got this dead space that's 2 feet deep between the columns and outside that window, that's going to have to be cleaned. It's going to be, which is fine. It's just that it's got a rail, it's got a window. It's just this kind of dead zone that's in there. I think anytime you've got a dead zone, it's,
Could you hybrid it and do both? Like along this front elevation, set it back so that from the road you get and so what I'm thinking is,
That's what I'm looking at right now.
so what I'm thinking is if the side were between the columns, then that pushes these 4x4s back and you maybe don't see it at all from the street.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
On the side elevation, you're gonna see it. But I think,
Let me ask a weird question. So the right, plan right on that elevation up on the screen now. So the back 3 columns, not the one on the front, but those back 3, and redesign and everything. Do those necessarily have to stay?
the porch columns or the,
I mean, what do you see from that? So you don't see anything from that.
well, there's that big outdoor patio space
Oh, that's right.
over here.
Okay, so, all right, I retract that question, but I see where you're going with that. With the front elevation, you keep what I see on this elevation, on the plan view here, and then on that side, if that switches over to the hybrid you're talking about, then you've got those filler panels there.
Yeah.
Just figure out a way to put some fenestration on those filler panels, whether it's just some molding or something like that ties into the columns a little bit better. I don't know.
I think that would be a good compromise and one that would work.
Yeah, I'm struggling with how to, it's a great building. I love the architecture. How you just not see that. How you enclose the patio or the front porch. I understand what you're trying to do, but just to completely eliminate or really minimize the impact that this has on the overall look of the building, especially this is on Main Street too. So, and how it fits into the architecture of the building as well. That's my struggle. I think that's all our struggles. That's probably been your struggle for the last 3 years.
It has been.
You know, another thing too, we set that in behind that column, we set that new 4x4 in there, now you're gonna see this stick standing here. It's almost like you wanna fill that space in from the column back as well with something and put some fenestration on it.
Yeah.
You following me?
I do.
So you got the column out here, and you're gonna set another one in here. This space here is gonna
Dead space.
make it look, I think even, that's what's gonna call it out.
Right,
If you filled that in, maybe it,
Filled it in.
That's what I mean. It feels like you're kind of robbing Peter to pay Paul.
yeah,
Yeah,
One problem for
I didn't think about that. You just, that filler panel
I don't like that.
changes the
on the
elevation.
side. I think you could do the filler panel, and I think you could fenestrate it out similar. I mean, he could build it up and make it similar to that. I mean, I know we don't really like the roll down plastic panels, but I almost think in this case, that's maybe a better solution than,
I mean, in a lot of ways, it would be, I mean, we could have them made with the profile, and it's just a question of how often they're up. I mean, we don't really love the plastic panels either. We don't really.
It looks
I think
cheap.
what the
Yeah.
board and most of the architecture stuff that we talk about that we don't like about that is there's not really a way to make it taut.
Right.
So if there were a way that you could affix it so that it were taut,
Yeah.
that really, really helps,
It's on
you
an
know?
automatic roller, mechanical roller, and then it
Well,
connects.
yeah, but then you
He's gotta lose
still
the
gotta
top.
have a frame on the side to
This
do
is the part
that.
that needs work.
Getting away from the filler talk, are these, are they tinted, the panels?
No, man, we were just trying to show that, we had some color in there just to show that they were there.
Okay, this is,
Shoot, I'm sorry.
Brett, can you scroll, like, that, the picture, the actual picture that shows, yeah. So in that picture, to me, it feels like y'all have those down because you're trying to block the sun.
That's correct.
So so if you're gonna have these glass panels that are not tinted, that's gonna be hot.
Right,
So
yes, so that's.
are you gonna then have curtains hanging down to block the sun, or,
Right, I mean,
you know
that's.
what I mean?
The western exposure is kind of a different issue from the cold weather, and so, I mean, I think we want to have them down as much as possible, operationally, to make it feel like a patio. I mean, I think now more than ever, people probably want to sit outside.
Yeah.
And so, you know, the sun is a separate issue, and so we probably would have a screen like that, and that down for the sunset hours, you know.
So you'll have
There are fans.
these and then an additional screen for sun blockage.
Right, yep.
That's a whole lot going on.
Would that be a rolling screen?
It could be, could be.
But you already have a rolling screen, don't you?
Right,
Currently?
but the rolling screen is not, and I put this picture in here specifically with the screen down.
Down,
So that
right.
you could see kind of how it operates.
Will that be standing and then the glass in
Behind
addition to
it.
that?
I think that's the question. It was like, Ms. Palmer's questions was kind of how, the layers. And so, it probably would stay for the, you know, the times that it's cold at sunset. So it would be, you know, 6 to 7 o'clock or 5 to 7 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think when the sun's going down later, the windows would be down. So.
And I'm gonna get one last point that I've got. The building roof line, you know, the arc
Yeah.
roof, not the arc roof, but the pointed roof.
The gable.
It has, the gabled roof has the little fenestration underneath, got the brackets and that sort of thing. The only thing I'd like to see if this starts changing over is if somehow we can bring some element of that roof line along that horizontal roof line there to tie those two together. So this doesn't look like a enclosed patio loft. It looks great to get to the top of the columns, and then it's just this thing that sits on top.
Right.
If we can bring some sort of matching fenestration or something like that that ties the two together, I think that would help.
Yeah, yeah,
What that is, I don't know.
sure, yeah. Yeah, when we first designed it, we did, we were trying to keep the patio, different. I mean, we looked at different roof forms and stuff and wanted it to be, you know, the same but different, you know? So
Yeah,
we
but
wanted,
now that it's enclosed and you're bringing this portion all the way across both elevations, I think you gotta start tying it together.
sure,
Yeah, so, you know, before we went through all this, I thought I liked the recessed, but it just seems very awkward. That's going to create a lot of awkward stuff there, and it seems like the center line is the more sort of elegant solution of the two. It's just kind of got the what's it doing to the columns thing. And then you get into, you know, with that panel, do you put some decoration on it to make it look more ornate, or do you want it to more disappear and have it just be a plain flat panel so it's less noticeable than if you put molding it? Do you want to put molding on it and decorate it, which will call attention to it, or you want it to just be a dark colored flat panel and try to have it disappear as much as possible? In other words, make it dark so from the street, maybe you don't notice it all that much under a lot of circumstances, right?
Which is what all of us would aspire to do here. keep it,
Yes.
as you said
Well,
earlier, Tarver, keep it clean and simple.
Well, then you're going to see it. If it's the same color as the columns, then it's going to be very visible because that's a light color, right? I would make it the same color. They're going to make that lower panel behind the railing so that you know, when it's dark, because it's darker under the porch, right? So it'll help it disappear a little bit. And
I still think it needs some fenestration.
that's what I'm trying, I don't, you know, I'm kind of torn on that. It's if you put fenestration, you're going to call attention to it, right?
Or does it look like it belongs to it?
Yeah, that's the other thing, right.
If you did it and it's under that beam, does it now look like an additional portion of the support?
Yeah.
It's not, but does it kind of take that, only one side of it's gonna have it, like in this one here, you know, you would have it here, so you're still gonna maintain the taper feel on the other side. Just me, I think if it's gonna be there, it's gotta be decorated. I think when it's closed, you won't notice it as much. But when it's open and that piece is still there, I think you're gonna go, what's that weird thing?
I think you have to tie it into those columns on the front.
So what if you make it the same color as the column and put the same trim on it as the column? Just make it look
And the railing.
Or even if it's darker with some fenestration.
with some fenestration.
Either or, it's a flat panel that's plywood by itself,
Yeah.
whatever the color, just seems a little dull.
Do you research like, kind of an accordion style?
We
Just stay all the time, just accordion to the outsides, or?
We did, and we've looked at those, and we looked at those when we first designed it, and then when we looked at them subsequently. And you still kind of have the same problem, because when they accordion flat, you still need to push against that profiled column. And so even when they're flat and they're open, that shutter wants to be straight. Yeah, and then
The accordion would be.
I know, yeah.
Right?
I mean, is the problem mostly because we have angled columns? Is that what's causing the problem?
It is, it's the angled columns, and then there's the big base that they sit on, which are, I mean, they're beautiful, they're elegant.
Yeah, I love the columns.
It makes it
Because I was trying to think of like, who else has a patio like this and what do they do, but, I mean, I know Pure does, I don't know what,
Right.
just trying to think.
We've looked at some of those others that are out there, but
Like
it's
Milton's
all-
does, but theirs are just curtains, I
they're
think.
curtains, yeah.
Thinking about the front porch, the interior soffit of the front porch, where is that in relation to maybe the header that's at the top of the tapered columns? I mean, I'm thinking, is there something that can be, I'm going back to a roll-up or something that can be,
Like the beam on the top of the column, I think it's pretty,
no, but
it's pretty substantial.
what's behind,
It's to the saw.
yeah, what's behind the soffit that you can conceal this roll down, whatever, and not even have any of the glass type? I'm just trying to diminish or eliminate this look. I think it just really hurts the architectural
Right.
character.
Yeah, yeah, if we did the roll downs, we could probably, I'm not sure, but I suspect we could probably figure out how to create a profile. It'd be a little bit of a funny shape if it were halfway down, but they'd either kind of have to be up or down.
Because I think it's going to
Well,
be,
but with your louvered ceiling though, I mean, when they're up, then you lose,
When they're up,
Gonna
yeah,
lose
they'd
you
some
roll
lose the
up.
whole purpose of the louvered ceiling,
Yeah.
right?
No, I mean, when they're up, I think they'd roll up and we could create a soffit where they would slip into.
no, you're doing the
that would
profile. I'm
be
trying to get rid of the,
almost unnoticeable. But what I was saying is when they go down, just like in this picture that's on the screen now, you can see the gaps on either side and stuff. And so to mitigate that, we could kind of profile the fabric a little more easily.
If this were open, I mean, I don't think this looks bad, just having it square. I think it could be pushed over and be closer.
A little tighter.
Is that, if that were open, because you just used the roll down, and you didn't try to profile the edge of the roll down,
Right.
just did a square one, and you were somehow able to create maybe a ratchet system or something at the bottom where you can pull it down and get a good snug fit,
Right, yeah.
do you feel like you've still got what you wanted, even though you're gonna have a little gap in the column? That's not
Well,
gonna
that's what I
be
mentioned.
That doesn't keep the cold out though.
Yeah, you're not keeping the cold out.
Yeah, you're-
The front porch is open.
Hold out anyway, it's still an open patio.
Yeah.
It's
You're
kind of that,
keeping the airflow out.
keeping the airflow down some, it's, you know, you're keeping the
We
most
can't
of the
design
rain
this going forward. Couldn't do this forever.
The only problem with that plastic, it just doesn't look good.
I have a question.
And it doesn't hold up, it doesn't last long before it's wrinkled and scratched and, you know, I don't know.
I have a question.
The other thing is, what's their names, Owen and Grill, I think, they created a track system top and bottom. They bring their shutter panels in fall time-ish, set them in the track, when they need them, they take them, when it comes to spring, then they take them out.
They take them out.
But they're,
Somewhere to store.
yeah, they just, I was gonna say, they don't, their problem then is the storage issue.
So it sounds like these are gonna be closed for most of the time, correct?
Yeah.
I think they would be,
Take them down or leave
open to the air.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I
I mean, I guess the western facing one there at the sunset, that would be, we would want to have something to block the sun
Yeah.
because it's blazing sunset.
Is there a reason that you wouldn't do glass there?
Well, we want the glass, the only reason we want the glass is for the weather protection.
Correct, but, I know, but instead of opening, just like glass windows on that front.
Right.
And that don't open like that, that actually look totally, that look different.
Oh, that just look like regular windows?
Yeah.
You'd have to condition the whole space behind it, as far as heating, air.
Well, if it's open
There's already
though,
fan, you know, there's definitely, fans and heater and all that in there, and the sides would be open, right? So it changes the front look.
Okay, I think we could talk about this all day long. I hate to say that.
We've been talking about it for.
Then you've been talking about 3 years now. We've had it for 30 or plus minutes. We've got to get moving here because we do have other applications and so forth, so.
And I do want to say that while it doesn't sound like we've come to a complete resolution, I do appreciate you taking the time to talk about it. And that's why, you know, Brett asked us to look at it more, and we looked at it a bunch, and so I just wanted to get in front of you guys. Appreciate you looking at it, no matter what you're about to say. I just want to say that.
well, I
Before-
don't know, you may wanna hold off. And
Before anybody says anything else, is there any public comment about this application? Any folks, anybody wants to say? All right, come on down. If you'll identify who you are, speak into the microphone.
Chris Sedgwick. The idea to put a roll down, we've done that before at Pure. I don't think it's a really good solution. They allow air in there, and we did away with that solution a long time ago and added the roll down doors instead, but that's just my 2 cents.
That's what I was wondering, I was like, what is Pure? I'm like, there he is.
I would avoid that.
So when you say it lets air in, so it could be hot air or cold air or?
Well, the roll down doors, the way they are, they're slotted like windows inside the doors and stuff like that. And just because they have to roll up and down, it's not like a window where it's a solid seal. They're just, the way they're designed, they're just like holes, 4 holes around each pane of glass. And it allowed the air to just blow through the patio. So we had it when we were trying to solve a similar problem, and then we took them down. They didn't work at all for us. So.
Okay.
We'll have lunch up here today.
We have roll down doors.
Yeah.
Very good. All right, thank you, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
I appreciated something that Mr. Neer said when he introduced the project. He said that you wanted us to help you consider how to resolve this. And that's exactly why we're here. A lot of people don't understand that, but thank you for.
No, we do.
Yeah, and I know you do, but I like the way you put that in succinctly in words. So thank you for that description.
Yeah, so, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'm not sure through all the discussion today, we've actually come up with any better option. And I'm gonna try a motion here and see where we end up. So, Mr. Chairman, regarding DRB 210047 homes, motion to approve the center line column option presented today with the condition that the filler panels be, that the applicant works with staff on the filler panels for some level of decoration or molding on those panels, and that the windows on the porch side will be quadruple hung so that they will hide behind the railing entirely. End of motion.
I second.
All right, I have a motion by Mr. Swing, a second by Mr. Owens.
I have a question.
Yes.
You said on the porch side.
You meant patio,
Is
didn't you?
that, can you further define what side you're talking about there?
The original house. When I said the porch side, the original house.
Porch on the house,
Outside
Be-
is the
quad.
quadruple hung, the other side does triple?
Because the way they described it is on the other side, the triple hung will hide behind the railing because it's a higher railing.
Right.
So everything in the open position hides behind.
Everything in the open position hides behind the railing.
Yeah, why don't we, I'll ask. Okay, let's do this. I'm looking at Lauren over there. Is there a way that you can read back to us Mr. Swing's motion?
Of course. Motion to approve the center line column option as presented today with the condition that the applicant work with staff on the filler panels for decoration or mold on the molding, pardon. Mold on the filler panels. Windows on the porch side will be quadruple hung so that they will hide behind the rail entirely.
Okay.
And the clarification that on the porch side, the original house side gets quadruple hung and the other patio gets the triple hung.
Correct.
So that everything in the open position hides behind the railing.
Right.
It works.
Then I have a question as well. Anything, is this board okay with the current roof line option that they're showing there?
Roof line option.
Yes, I like that because it distinguishes your original structure from something new, so that we're not trying to make them look like the same thing, and we're keeping the integrity of the main building as it is.
I think
Not sure what you're talking about, Mr. Corkle. What do you mean by that?
I'm talking about this elevation right here, that along the top of the new patio cover.
Isn't it already that way?
it's already there.
Yeah.
It's already there, but it looks like a patio cover. So what I'm saying is, you got all this finished. So here's what they're showing in the elevation. This flat panel sort of looks like a wide T. I'm just asking, is everybody okay with that?
We don't know, we didn't see.
I think if you look at what,
I'm good with it.
if you look at what's on the screen, I think it's a little,
But that's not what they're proposing. They're proposing this.
This, though, looks more like,
This is the center line. This
Can
is,
you bring up this elevation, Brett?
yeah, which one are you?
I don't know.
yeah, that looks totally different.
DSGN 01.
I think it's the last,
Yeah, so that is was a rendering that was put together by the window manufacturer. It doesn't, the scope of work does not change anything above the existing, that line where Brett's got his mouse. I think that's Brett's, but
It's just
there's
such
nothing above that.
It's just such a blocky thing in this
Right.
elevation, and that's my concern.
It didn't
Yeah,
look like
so-
it out
so
there, though.
My point is that there's not, this rendering
it doesn't look
here,
like
that's on the screen here, is much more accurate. That lower rendering was one that was put together by the window manufacturer who's interested in his windows. He kind of made the rest of the building out of Play-Doh. And this is the architectural
Is this
version.
board okay with that? Look,
I am,
yeah, you're not changing what's there today.
That's
That
correct.
header is going to stay exactly the way it is.
just in windows.
thank you, that's what's throwing me off.
Yeah.
Along with this one on the patio side as well. That's staying as is, the thing will just come up and meet to it.
That's correct. We don't intend to change anything about that upper.
That
Just fitting the windows in.
It does make it look quite odd. in those
Boxy.
two locations right there.
Right, yes, and that's, that, we shouldn't have included that. That's something that,
Okay, it's on record. Got it.
Page 46.
So what is that?
those are something that the window manufacturer put together. It was some, anyway, back of house kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's not an accurate rendering of the rest of the building, right?
Tell the guy to stick with windows next time.
but Mr. Tarver, you stamped the drawing.
All right, so we-
Okay. Thinking out, yes, we're still discussing the motion. I think, as much as I'm trying to eliminate what the glass does and the impact it has to the architecture, I guess this has, it doesn't booger up everything as much as some of the other options we've just talked about.
That's kind of where I was.
Probably not the right
Why we
word,
looking
but
at it.
I don't know how else to figure this out.
Yeah, and I think that the economic benefit to the applicant here is, you know, worth a little, I mean, that small bit of effect on the facade, right?
Which most people
Yes.
aren't going to see anyway. We will because we're studying it, but customers aren't going to notice it.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
This may be a question a little bit more to bring Mr. Couch up, but you may know, in this elevation, which is the one that I think the board is leaning towards going, you're showing a pretty good portion at the bottom of the column on that thing as well. Is your plan, or could that be minimized as much as possible, make that glass, so it almost meets at this corner, and then, you know, grows to be plumb at the top,
Yeah, I think
rather than this whole big thing?
yeah, we were,
I mean, I know it's
What I
gonna
was
have
getting at.
some,
So are you saying push the post into the column more?
push this bottom portion into the column.
Right.
You're still gonna maintain flush, so it's gonna go like back more than have a wider.
I agree, because we do that with like entrance gates and communities and that all the time.
That's what I assumed they were doing from the picture, I guess.
For a gate,
So maybe
pushing the column.
it looks, I don't know, give a number, it looks like 8 to 10 inches there, all the way up. Maybe-
I'm voting for it.
maybe
Let's
goes
get going.
3 at the bottom and 6 at the top, just depending on.
sure.
Just-
Yeah, if you look at if you scroll down to the detail page, which is, on it's two more pages down. So this kind of shows the detail on the middle drawing, shows the detail of the profile of the existing column. That's right.
This is the filler piece.
That's the filler piece. And so the filler piece has been defined, if you scroll down, move your mouse down just a little bit, right there is the cap. And so what I think we can do is we can, right,
This portion in.
actually sit it on the column. So that'll take another 3 inches off of that. And then we can add a little trim around it to give it some hierarchy. And maybe we wrap up and around, over the top so that there's a little bit of, it comes in and then out, so there's a little more
Almost thinking
profile.
once you minimize it, you have a double, 2-layer, actually with 3 layers, you'll have this trim piece here
Right.
on the outside and on the inside so you're recreating basically that profile of the columns
Yes,
on that filler piece.
exactly.
Well, you can't set that post on the column, because then you wouldn't be able to put your window down.
Well, we would set the
You could put it right up against it,
Right, yeah.
right at it. You can't put it on top of it, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to put
On top, as long as the filler piece slid outside it.
That's right.
Then you have to have a post at the bottom then too.
Yeah.
It's an open space.
I think just try to minimize that.
Yeah, I think it minimize the filler panel.
That's right.
Yeah,
We will
yeah,
do that.
yeah.
Okay.
And we'll
And maybe that's covered by the condition of work with staff on the filler panel? Yeah, okay.
All right,
This is a
Can I show
historic, this is a
one
historic house
thing?
though.
certainly.
In my friendly amendment, can I show this to you? I don't know if this is like, we just
Friendly amendment.
The problem is that it's a historic house though, Katie.
could something like that work?
It could, but it would, so she showed me windows that fold up like this, but the problem of the jam is the
Oh,
same.
yeah.
That would
Problem of
totally
the
change the look.
Negotiating between the tapered
But then you
column
got
and the
ceiling fans and.
jam
Right.
Well, no, it comes out.
is still there.
They come out, so they're not going
Let's don't
in.
design it, they can figure it
The
out.
problem is that they have two
Okay.
columns.
Let's let them figure it out. We don't-
Okay.
It's an idea. You guys figure it out, but they're cool.
Okay,
Very cool.
I'm going to call an end to the questioning on the motion and call for a vote. So all in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All opposed, no opposition, motion passes 7-0. Okay. Very good. Thank you for your time this morning. All right. Very good.
Thank you, gentlemen.
I'll tell you what, we're going to take, the next applicant is Brixmore. Are you here? Brixmore, yes? So give us 5 minutes. We're going to take a 5-minute recess, but if you can come up and get ready, get prepared, it'd be great. 10:25.
Brett has it in his email. That might be easier for him just to pull it up from his email.
Okay.
He's gonna
Really neat.
Wear them every Friday. So in our company, it's Picture Friday, October. We call them Pink Friday, everybody. Pretty cool. I got a couple guys that won't wear them. They won't wear them, but they wear them. Like they pull their blue shirt up and they got, see it in the car. Good to see you.
Oh, we did? Good. I need... sanitized.
I think so. They're filling their coffee cups.
Hey there. Thank you. All right, it's time for happy Easter. Oh, yes.
If we'd known, yeah.
Table break. It's a front. I mean, the colors are great. Just putting them in the right place.
And somebody said,
Well, we've got, see, like,
never mind.
well, and the thing too, like, all, the whole area underneath the awning, white, it goes way
Not a quick
so you don't notice it.
Okay, let's end our recess this morning and get going with our next applicant. And our next applicant is Brixmore, Mansell Crossing.
Yeah.
All right, you're up.
Everybody's doing
If you'll speak into the microphone, introduce yourself, and give us an overview of what we're looking at in our packet today, please.
All right, my name's Scott Hunter. I'm the property manager for Mansell Crossing, which is owned and operated by Brixmore. First off, I want to apologize. We jumped the gun and went ahead and started painting without getting approval. No one in our company was aware of this process, so we're here today to rectify that and to get a plan approved so we can finish the job we've already started, so.
So for the board's view, we don't have a full elevation thing, but I'll walk you through where we're at here. So the Macy's is down here on this corner. This section through here is that rock section that we showed this morning that are only doing trim work. They don't have this section here.
You mean they don't own it?
That's the Michaels and the Home Goods.
Someone else owns it.
Someone else has that, yep. Then this section here is where we're talking about, it's mostly the white portions and adding the things. So we've got a corner feature here, we've got a corner feature here, and TJ Maxx in the middle. So it's really the only spot that is pretty much end-to-end what is between here and here.
Yes, that's correct. So on the other section to the right, we have a similar structure, but it has a stone veneer. And on that section, we just painted the trim and the metal roofing. So the metal roofing, we're painting that tricorn black. The trim work, we've painted agreeable gray. And then the white is just pure white that we painted the brick. So the plan, after meeting with Holly and Brett on site, was to, any of these pop-out storefronts is what I'm going to refer to them as, would be to paint these gray, a dark gray color. We went with French gray for the rendering here. So
the classic French gray, this
Yes.
color?
Classic French
This is the pop-outs? Okay, as you're calling them, okay.
Correct.
So here's this, so this is the before, this is the white, and then this is after, so they've done now the black is added on there, and you got the French gray on the brick, and then the agreeable on the trim work.
Okay.
And this is on the southern portion of the center, right?
This particular one right here is right here.
Okay.
For reference, this is the Honey Ham Verizon building.
And the old Toys R Us is not part of it?
The old Toys R Us is the Burlington.
That's the Burlington.
It's already done.
Got it.
Little building, this building right here beside it is not part of theirs.
Oh, boy.
But I will, once theirs is done, then I'm gonna work hard on trying to get them just to use the same scheme and do their.
But then the only problem with that is that the Burlington's gonna clash really bad, because they're cream.
Yes.
So we may work on a different base color or something.
Yeah.
And then this is the TJ Maxx before. Sorry, Scott.
It's okay. No,
Just
go
take
ahead.
over, Brett. That's okay.
Brett, you wanna go down there?
Yeah.
No.
And then there after. So we added the French gray. We thought that it looked best behind the sign. If you got the trim color, maybe that area kind of pop a little bit more. And you've got the trim color is the
Is that the agreeable gray?
agreeable gray.
And what's happening to the standing seam metal roofs?
Those are going to
They're
be
black.
painted black.
All the standing seams are getting painted black.
Where in the,
In this picture, they're currently black.
where's the choice cream used? Is that used anywhere?
I don't think that's anywhere, the choice
Yeah,
cream.
when you print these off, it's hard to remove the colors from the scheme. So some of the colors are there on the bottom aren't actually.
But you're not actually using
The alabaster, no, wait, and the
Alabaster.
Yeah, because you're,
choice cream are not.
so you're just using these four colors, using tricorn black, agreeable gray, pure white, and classic French gray. Okay, so those four, the two at the bottom of each column. Okay, thank you, okay.
So that's the TJ Maxx. Now, for reference again, we just looked at this one. This is TJ Maxx here in the center, the bigger one. And then now we'll look at the Xfinity one, which is this other corner over there. So you can see that's right there at our REI, so it's got a nice transition break.
And the chess pieces in the, what do we say, the agreeable gray? Is that what we're doing?
Yeah,
I call them the chess piece.
Yeah, there's a little piece up here
And then over,
at the peak of the roof that they're gonna paint as well.
and then TJ Maxx, oh, is it a cupola?
No, it's.
What is that called? That
just a-
thing? Come on,
That's
Richard.
good.
I think cupola.
That's kind of a cupola right there, but when you just have a ball on it, it's not necessarily it's just kind of an ornamental.
Well, we couldn't remember.
Cap.
We were out there, we
Okay.
couldn't decide what to call that. And that's gonna be that. And also, you'll notice if you go back to the one you just were at, Xfinity. Go back to the nail bar, we have told them about the raceways need to match. So they're gonna fix that.
Fix that raceway, because that wouldn't match the old brick. So
Before anybody says, hey,
you're gonna do
Oh, yeah.
any of those raceways.
Exactly, any
they just
race we'll
match
touch
whatever
on.
color.
All right, so on that elevation, I drove the center yesterday. You've got a horizontal stone band where Xfinity ties into REI down there on that very end, and you did not paint that. So what is the intent there? You can't see it in this photograph. I can see it in the photograph I took.
Go to the next, slide 8, looks like it might be on there.
Oh, yeah, we did.
Gotcha, yeah.
It's not painted.
That's the stone veneer, similar to what we have on the building to the right of this one. And we just left that exposed. We didn't want to paint the stone, so.
It's on this side over here as well.
Yeah, it's also in front of.
You're just painting brick, not stone. You're not painting any of the stone.
No.
No, the stone's actually in good condition, it's nice looking, it's got these same colors, it's got the grays and the creams, and it kind of ties all the colors in.
Yeah, an American Signature has it, and
Yeah.
DSW has it.
Yeah,
DSW
American
definitely
Signature is mostly it, right? Or DSW.
I got a picture of
Yeah.
Right there.
signature, I believe. Yeah, so that's American Signature and REI are both. They had the orange brick, but they also had that veneer, detail going on the bottom.
There's American
middle.
Signature.
So we just painted the brick, and we're leaving the stone alone. Same on the columns as well. So DSW is different because that's just it's got that veneer across the whole front except for the ephes trim.
So are you painting at DSW? Are you painting the standing seam metal roof black?
Yes.
Okay.
And then any of the shingle, hip roof areas that aren't currently black, I think there's one or two that are already done.
Yes, so TJ Maxx, we had to re-roof that shingled roof, for maintenance purposes. And we like the way it looks. It's a dark charcoal shingled roof. So we have about 10 shingled roof areas, and we plan to do them all next year. We got it in our budget for 2022. Probably in the spring sometime, but that's the goal, is to match everything to the TJ Maxx, which is the newer roof. So it'll tie in with the gray and the black that we're using for painting.
And we had discussion too in workshop about those brick planters, that you're either removing them or painting them.
Yes, I've been wanting to remove those since I took over this property. They get hit by vehicles. They're constantly having to maintain them. They just look very outdated. So the goal is to just bring the planter beds flat, similar to what, if you go look at the front of REI, it's a good example. There's flat planter beds.
Right.
That's the goal, and that's actually going to start this year. We're going to start doing that this year. We have a meeting on, I think, the 26th with the city arborist to go through and see, what we need to replant when we take these out. Because we're going to have to remove the trees in order to bring the bed flat with the curb. So we're going to have to be doing some replanting as well. But that is the goal, is to do a good majority of them this year, and then maybe next year come back and finish up, take out all the remaining beds, because it's probably about $150,000 just to do half of them, which we're doing this year.
So since you're planning to do the roof and the beds anyway, right? And I think in order for the whole thing to look right, I think you got to change the roof color, and I think you got to do either take them out or paint them to match the building. would you have any issue with approval being conditioned on that gets finished up, that you change the roofs and either paint or remove those,
No.
those brick beds?
It'll actually help me with my goals.
We don't usually specify a period of time, but.
No, I don't have any problem with that. The only issue would be, we had the funds budgeted for 2022. So we could do everything that, the painting and the planter beds this year. And then if it would be okay if we just finish up the roofing and the rest of the planter beds in 2022 early.
That's only 3 months away.
Yeah, so I mean, we're getting close. Shingles.
So we did within the next year.
Painting's budgeted.
Painting's already done.
I would say, Frank, I would say
We just said within the next 12 months.
by the end of 2022, that's what I would say.
And there's other things too, like they're painting the light posts.
Yes, we're painting all the parking lot light
I mean, they're
poles.
all, the whole thing's just gonna be like a lot freshened up, look a whole lot better.
Yeah, it was, very much needed. I think you got this. Center, looked fairly dated, and the Macy's we actually weren't planning to paint this year. We're going to do that next year, but we've already gone ahead and revised our budget to do it this year. So
Awesome.
this is the plan for Macy's, just a little bit different than the rest of the building, just because it's such a large storefront. We've talked about putting murals on the building front as well. I don't know if it'll look good. Maybe on the sides of the buildings it would look a little bit better, but Brixmore is really big on murals.
I'll be sure you bring them before us.
Trying to incorporate most of our properties.
Be sure the city sees it.
What sort of graphic items would you project in that mural sort of thing?
There's been some talk about trying to capture the equestrian type market from Milton, try to pull those to the center. So one of the things that we were talking about doing was, either putting a fence, like a horse fence along the bottom of the storefront. Not painted, but just like an actual fence along the storefront bottoms. And then the graphics we've been discussing have to do with that theme, equestrian type horse theme, which, I'm not so sure that that's our demographic, but, that's just an idea we've been throwing around.
The art committee, right?
Before we get too far down that mural,
Yeah.
meet with the art committee.
Okay.
And they say they'll be able to help you with some stuff, some major thoughts.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'd love to get their input. Absolutely.
With that, sorry, the white Macy's portion, are those like metal panels? Aren't they like panels? Are they acrylic or metal or something?
No, I don't think so.
I mean, I don't think they're stucco, are they?
They're not stucco.
They're like a.
It's almost, it's like a metal, I think. I don't know what type of metal, but,
Well, can they like maybe pressure wash those?
yeah, absolutely.
Okay, awesome.
We were planning to
Yeah.
pressure wash this before we painted it, and
Okay.
that would be pressure wash.
Are you proposing on, like, the Macy's building, painting the sides and the backside? Because you do see coming down that road. Or up.
Absolutely. Any part of the building, the sides, the parapet walls, anything like that, that can be seen is going to be painted as well.
So that little alleyway between Macy's and the other center, the return on Macy's, some of it's brick and stucco, and then it goes to concrete block. So you're painting the concrete block portion too?
Just on the side. We're not painting the whole back. We can, but that's not part of the plan, but it was just to paint the side exterior.
All the way to the back.
All the way to the back, yes.
Okay, it's a pretty big expanse it's kind of a light, I won't even call it.
Multiple colors.
There it is, right there.
Yeah, exactly. That's one of the places we were considering a mural.
So you'll continue the color scheme here on the back?
Yes.
All the way around, or just?
No,
Not on the back, just on
portion?
the side, I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So this color scheme, this corner right here is just like the front, it's identical, and then the back, pink color, and we'd like to paint that.
Now, would you do that, will you continue with the horizontal line, that the brick is, we have the darker gray, and then, do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, we could.
And all the way back?
Make it all one color.
Yeah.
I think keeping the same.
Like they did in the front?
Just like, yeah.
Just the same scheme as the front?
Yeah.
I think so, keep that line going
Yeah, I think that'll look sharp, but we can definitely do that.
Is it concrete block or is it?
Just concrete block, yeah.
Same scheme.
Yeah, as much as I just feel like the damage has been done, the paint's on there. I think the brick gave it some good architectural character and the paint has diminished it, but I think we've already started painting.
But when you have pink peach brick, that's not architecturally
No.
appealing at all.
Yeah,
To me.
color of the brick was.
I mean, it was awful. No offense to,
No, I mean, no one likes it.
I grew up in a pink brick house.
I grew up in a peach house with brown shutters.
I have a pink house. All right,
Mr. Chairman, regarding DRB 210049, the Brixmore at Mansell Crossing, I make the motion that we approve the color scheme as presented today with the condition that applicant finishes the replacing the shingle roofs and removing the upraised planter beds by the end of 2022. And that applicant also, in terms of the side of the Macy building that can be seen, will continue the same scheme as is on the front of the building in the motion.
I'll second.
okay, have a motion by Mr. Brown, a second by Mr. Corkle. I neglected to ask for any public comment, so any public comment on this application before we proceed with discussion of the motion? There being none, okay. All right, any comments, questions about the motion?
I have one.
Yes.
The awning in front of Macy's is white now. Is that going to stay white? See it on the screen?
Yes,
That'll stay white?
I mean, we can paint it,
I think that
or
would work.
like us to, but the plan was to keep
I
it
think
white.
that, if that's all that's white, I'd be good with that.
Stay white?
Yeah.
Okay, just curious. Thank you.
A couple clarifications. So on the roofs, so, replace the roofs, but that means the brown roofs to black.
I said the shingle roofs.
Yeah, but they're not changing. The ones that are already black, because some are already black.
Well, the ones they're going to replace, yeah.
That's right. It's the brown to black that
Right.
we're talking about. And on the planters, you said remove them. We had also discussed either remove them or paint the brick.
I thought we were
Because I
removing
think they're
them.
planning on keeping some of them.
Yes, so anything that's not removed this year, and we're gonna determine exactly which ones are being removed this year later this month when we meet the
So
arbors.
eventually, you're going to remove them all.
Eventually, but anything that's not removed this year, we'll go ahead and paint gray, dark gray.
Then remove them next year?
Okay, so then everything will
They'll
be
be removed,
removed by
yes.
next year, so we're good then.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, any other questions or comments?
Just got difficult.
Which color gray on?
The planter beds would be the French gray.
Okay. All right, there being no further questions or comments, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All opposed, no opposition. Motion passes 7-0. All right, Scott, thank you for your time this morning.
All
Appreciate
right,
it.
thank you all very much.
Thank you.
All right, very good. Okay, next up this morning will be Morgan & Morgan. You are here. Come on down, please. Morgan & Morgan, if you'll make sure you introduce yourselves this morning, speak into the microphone, and then give us an overview of what we have in our packet today, please.
Okay, good morning, everyone. This is our fifth DRB meeting in the same building. You guys are familiar with the Alpharetta building. And Morgan for the people is actually here for Morgan & Morgan and not for the people today. But anyway, we've done the facade renovation. We've been here for the bank signage. We were here for Viva Chicken about a month ago. And so now we're here for the Morgan & Morgan sign. So I'm going to introduce everybody here. I've got Corey from Morgan & Morgan, and he'll speak a little bit about what they're doing in Alpharetta. They took two very nice large spaces. One is in the Alpharetta building, and he'll tell you about the other. And then we've got Mark from the Mark III Signs, owner of the sign company, and they're Danny, their permit expediter, permit guy from them. So I'll let Morgan speak now and tell them about what their intentions are here in town and what they're trying to do, and we'll go from there. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
Oh, and I'm Mike Paterno.
No kidding.
Thanks, Mike. Good morning. Like Mike just said, my name is Corey Aiken. I'm an attorney with Morgan & Morgan. As you guys probably know, we have made a recent expansion and made a big commitment into Alpharetta, specifically in the downtown overlay district. We have leased most of the third floor at the 178 South Main Street Alpharetta Convention Center. Belle Isle Heights building, which is roughly 10,000 square feet, as well as 3,000 square feet in the former Alpharetta building, which I understand you guys are very familiar with. The sign permit we are seeking today is for the Alpharetta building, which is located at 11760 Haynesbridge Road, Suite A. At Morgan, as I'm sure you guys have seen on our lease billboards, buses, radio, TV commercials, we're very committed to our consistent branding message. Our logo and font of our graphics across the country is consistent in every state. And it's our desire to seek approval to keep our same logo for continuity, familiarity, and consistent branding. We realize that you may not be enthralled with our yellow lettering, but we feel like South State Bank that yellow is a part of our logo. The background of our proposed sign is black and quite prominent in our overall presentation. As stated earlier, we've made a big commitment to Alpharetta. We plan on being a good steward and contributing business as we add close to 50 employees by the end of the year between our two new locations who are already enjoying and patronizing the existing business in your new city center. And we love it here. So thank you for allowing me to come speak my piece today, and we appreciate your consideration.
Thank you, Corey.
Thank you.
I'm Mark Cannell, Mark 3 Signs. We're here with Danny to get the sign approved. It's reverse channel letters, so it's only halo lighted, all aluminum construction. The main thing is the Morgan & Morgan yellow color. Everything else meets the codes.
You have a sample of the colors?
Yes, we do. Unfortunately, I messed up, and the actual material is going to be aluminum for the yellow. But there's the black.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
This will work. But, yeah, the lettering is going to be aluminum, not illuminated.
Red
Yellow aluminum.
double.
And the center state on this drawing is changed to South State, and they have a gold S on theirs too. It's a little more muted yellow, but it's definitely a yellow on the same building. And eventually will be a front eye view for the chicken on the far right, which want to do orange on it.
So I'll jump.
Okay.
Now, I'm sensitive to it being your corporate identity, and all the yellow is very intense. Could it be toned down a little? You know, just take it down a notch. You know, so still yellow, but not so. It's very neon.
Yes, the proposed color that you see, and I understand what you're saying, is obviously our first option. We do have some backup colors that are more muted, if that would be more agreeable.
Yeah, what do you have? Could you show us what your alternatives are?
Start down there. We'll still
Or
back this way.
if you have two, yes, start each, thank you.
That's more for the South State.
And I think too, I'm just looking at the shape of the sign and the background. We've tried to make a big emphasis here recently on being very creative in signage. And I think the Cleaver and Cork sign there on the center is done very well. Let me ask this question to Brett. Does this center have a sign package, Brett?
No.
We should have done that.
Okay. Anyway, I think there's a way to get this sign background, or instead of just being one rectangle, a little bit more creative. Whether you round the edges or scallop the edges or do something to get it, just give it some.
We could round the edges because that would tie in with the Morgan & Morgan logo. They have rounded corners on their yellow. We could definitely round the edges.
Just trying to get it a little bit more architecturally exciting and creative and not just a.
Scallop the edges on the Cork and or Cleaver and Cork, but scallop would not tie into the Morgan & Morgan logo, but rounded would.
Yeah, rounded might be better here since Cleaver and Cork is scalloped right next to it, so it's.
I'm just throwing things out.
No, rounded would be.
Instead of having a rectangular blank.
Yeah, I like rounded, and I like the second color. It's a little more towards
It's
gold.
almost like a gold in a way. You have a name for that color?
Muted yellow.
Or you could just give one to,
Or just reference that.
we'll
same.
give one to him.
The non-fluorescent.
Brett, we'll get you the actual colors.
So-
Name, I don't have it with me.
So if you rounded the edges or the corners, I'm going to say, what does that look like?
Well, you see
Oh.
the round yellow,
Like outline or,
that's there, we'll just round that same, match that same radius there. See, the yellow edges are, that is their logo, is a rounded corner.
okay.
Or the black?
The yellow,
The yellow's rounded, but the black's flat.
sorry about that.
Just looked at it there.
Oh, that's even better.
Are you talking about this?
Yeah, that's fully rounded.
I'm not emailing up here, by the way. I'm looking up here, the logo.
That's not their standard logo.
It's not standard. On the commercial.
It's their color.
Yeah.
Rounded.
So they don't,
It's got Morgan in the picture.
so they don't have a
Wait.
standard.
What's the size,
I'm doing the same thing, I'm looking, they've
Yeah,
got all
you have,
kinds of
you have
stuff.
multiple.
what's the
so-
size of
Alright,
the sign? Because size matters.
Yeah, sure.
I think if we round the edges or the corners, I'm going to say that it's got to be,
What's his name?
it's got to be seen. It's got to be enough to make it worth the.
Well, you'd almost have to,
He's the main Morgan.
you'd have to make the black box behind it a little bit bigger
I like that.
so that you could get a little more pronounced rounding. on
Yeah,
the right?
yes, I think that's the word. I'm looking for a more pronounced rounding than just that,
Tiny, a bigger radius.
yes, a bigger radius on that.
So what we're talking about is the black behind it, making that a little larger so you could put a larger radius on the black.
Yeah.
We could do that.
Rather, because the radius on the yellow is such a small radius, if you just take those corners off on the black, you wouldn't even see it. Yeah.
Yeah, we could definitely do that.
I saw this.
So like a 6-inch radius, is that, how do you, let's see, that sign, how tall is that sign?
1
one-
foot
The
10.
letters are 1'10". The background panel I did not dimension, but they are about 2'6".
2'6".
So Brett, you understand what we're trying to do on that?
Excuse me, I'd like to jump in here for a second. I think I know exactly what you guys are trying to do. I'm an architect, I don't play one on TV, but, so a little bit more black, make it a little taller, it's a little short. You know, the other sign is up and it's gorgeous, by the way. They did the other sign, the Cleaver and Cork, if you've seen that. And so just a little bit more black background, which I think kind of takes away from the yellow, and then make it like an oblong, like you said. Give it a better round shape, I agree, not just to make the black round.
Mike, I want to ask you a question. This line right here,
Yes.
does that building move?
No.
Is that just a line?
That's just a line, that line's not there anymore. When the building was painted white from the first DRB facade renovation, that's all. kind
Okay,
of
so
blended.
this entire elevation is flush.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is, indeed.
Okay.
I got a picture of it.
There
Okay,
is
so I was a
there
little
is
worried
some,
about how, because we need to extend it a little bit if we're going to round that end, and
Yeah.
so,
Well, it's got to center over the canopy, so right now the Cleaver and Cork sign is up and it went over the doors like it shows there, not over the center over the canopy. We're going to adjust that.
so this is going to slide over to be centered here instead of the
Yes,
door.
yes, yeah, it doesn't look right over the door. We actually put the one Cleaver and Cork over the doors and it doesn't look right, so we're going to center it over the canopy. And then I think a little more height would be better, because I agree, a box. I kind of told them coming in, I said, they're not going to go for a box. The yellow is one thing, but the box really is what they're getting away from, which is what you spoke to. So a little bit taller height, a little bit more black background, and kind of maybe even take away from the yellow, and some pretty pronounced corners. I think that's a compromise for them, as long as they have their block letters that they, you know, which is their trademark.
Yeah,
So,
I haven't put it on a drawing board, but I would say, I would put about a 6-inch black, give us about a 3-inch radius corners.
Cleaver.
Same radius.
Yeah,
And
I
a little
think,
more height will look better there compared to the Cleaver and Cork, which is almost
I
a
think it's
38
got
inch
to be
sign.
more pronounced than just notching the corner.
Something.
yeah, we're right.
Yeah.
Right.
Said 3 inches, though, that's
Oh,
not, that's
what,
not it.
what I would suggest is maybe we contingent upon them submitting an updated scale rendering to staff for final approval, because trying to guess 3 inches, 6 inches
Or you
here
could
is kind
send
of
it to
hard.
us if you want.
You almost want to see it,
You're
right?
talking, I think you're looking, you are thinking a fully rounded end?
No, I think we were just thinking rounded corners.
Rounded corners, yeah.
Yeah, fully rounded, I don't think.
Not fully rounded, just rounded corners, but a pronounced enough radius that it's noticeable.
not just taking the corners off of there is what.
Yeah, if you just nip the corners off of there and followed that radius of the yellow, you wouldn't even see it.
Is that gonna look weird though with this corner being different than that corner?
No, they have to make them match.
They'd be saying,
Think of it this way, you make the box bigger, right? And it's almost like the radius of the yellow and the radius out here, think of concentric circles, right?
There you go, that's right.
Correct.
Right, so they'd be like concentric circles, arcs, right?
And it won't
Yeah,
look so
they
boxy.
need to be the same or.
They need to follow sort of the same arc. So if you had the center of the circle, it'd be in the same point for both of them.
Right.
So we'll add we'll say 6 to 12 inches and submit it to staff to get.
Yeah, I think you need a scale rendering in order to.
And that
I think it's gonna look too much like
you know,
Cleveland
3 to
Court.
5 inches, 6 inches, whatever.
Yeah, are we ready for a motion?
Hang on a second. So
Or is
what
there
you're
anything
looking
else?
at, what we're looking at on the monitor where it says Morgan and Morgan right there, that is not a true representation of the actual elevation out there on the site. Because I've taken a picture,
That's correct, that is not a true.
because they've got more windows. So what I was trying to find out is how much store frontage do they have?
They have equal to the Cleveland Cork, so there's plenty of room to make it a little larger, and I do think it looks stubby compared to the new Cleveland Cork sign, so a little taller, getting some more black background, making it more pronounced corners. Same letters in the middle, a little bit more black is gonna take away. Yeah, that's old. That's old.
That's not helpful.
Yeah, that's 1983.
You're right, it looks nothing like what they.
Yeah, because I was out there, there's where the door is, and then there's the storefront windows for Morgan and Morgan.
then another big.
And then to the right, there's a part of the blank wall, and then there's still some more storefront windows for Morgan and Morgan.
Correct, so the last hearing when we went in front for Viva Chicken is the correct rendering, and so I apologize to the sign company sometimes.
So Morgan and Morgan actually has more.
I'm under the bus.
Has more space? Okay, well, that makes it easier then.
Yes, the canopies are on this rendering, it looks like the Cleveland Cork's slightly bigger, but they're identical, they're both 24 feet.
Ah, okay.
And so, a little bigger sign, I know bigger is not better in this situation, I'm sorry, but, a little bigger.
Graphic area will stay the same.
Yeah.
Background.
What's the illumination?
It's
Halo.
LEDs, halo,
Halo, what color? White?
white.
Same thing the bank has
Still kinda
now.
hung up on the yellow
Center State,
and-
South State Bank has Halo now.
We're
They
going
have
with the
white
gold,
behind.
the second color they submitted.
Still a little hung up on that with white lights. I think that's gonna look a little,
With white lights.
At night.
gonna illuminate white behind yellow. I think
But
it's
you have a
gonna look
lot of
funny.
black though.
It's also
You
black.
do, and it's, they're closed
Before you
at
get
5
to
o'clock at night, I don't know what.
What do you think, like a warmer color light, or what do you? You want neon blue,
Not
don't you?
daylight, you want,
No, I
What were you thinking?
I was thinking black letters or just on the wall, just on the background, not doing the black background. We've seen some pictures where they just have the Morgan and Morgan with no raceway, so they're mounting them right to the, right to the building. And if you did black letters on there, I think it would stand out really, really nice. And then I don't think then you could illuminate it with white, and I think it'd be okay. It's just my opinion.
Yeah, I don't have the authority to go black letters. I work for Morgan Morgan.
Morgan just did a whole new rebrand and are really pushing to stay with the yellow letters.
As a matter of fact, I don't know if you're gonna see a new ad, Davis, the number 99 for Georgia, you can pay college images now. They've got him standing in an ad with the Morgan guys on both sides, they think they're definitely better. He's like
size matters,
He's
yeah.
like size matters, yeah, he's
Got it.
360 or whatever, yeah. So, they're really pushing it, and they've got 13,000 square feet here, right downtown, they really wanna be here, and they came here, obviously,
I think
people would recognize their brand. I don't think they won't go for black letters, but I agree that the rounding would be better, and if
I
there's
just
a
think
better color.
the gold or it just doesn't really fit our historic district. Just my opinion.
Again, the lighter, the more muted is exactly the color that South State on their letter at the other end of the building.
South State, yeah, but it's very, very minimal amount of it, not the entire thing. It's a extreme minimal amount of it.
And it just apostrophe?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's way different.
yeah, so it's like, yeah.
I mean, South State's got that right on the side of the building.
Yeah,
On the side.
It's on the side.
That's on the side. You see that from the front? And then you see that.
Yeah, but look at the front versus Morgan and Morgan. That's, you know,
Yeah, but still within the overlay.
They've got blue in their logo,
very
so it's a
different.
different animal, but we're just kind of showing the.
yeah, it's very different. We did. We did.
I mean, I understand the whole branding thing, but, you know, some of the board members on here also remember why, you know, we started getting white UPS signs because we
Yeah,
said
I've
no,
worked for
no
big
brown.
corporations, and we've changed.
Yeah.
Our
Oh, I know,
Subways.
there's white, we have white Starbucks sign on our
Yeah.
building, and they love their green too, but
Yeah.
this one, I just don't have the authority to change from the yellow. We can tone down the yellow, that's what I'm all about. We can change the box, which they wanted a square box, but I'm gonna tell them you're not gonna get it, so we can make it a little bit taller.
Well, we can.
To the halo.
Yeah, I mean.
Can't get black letters past.
But I mean, the board doesn't have to approve it just
Oh,
because.
no, I know.
We can't, yeah, so.
No, I'm just telling you.
Yeah,
my
we can't get it approved here today, but they might see the wisdom in it if the board chooses to go that direction.
Yeah, because the monument sign is rough too. I would definitely prefer to see black letters
Yeah,
myself, but
The-
I also get it's a branding thing. So
yeah, there's the monument.
yeah.
Okay, any further comments, questions for the applicant? Any public comment about this application? All right, no public comment at this point. I mean, I think the challenge is, how do we? So is the black background is getting larger as far as height and width?
I would ask
Or
the sign
length.
company to submit the next day, because I'm hoping to move them in November. The next day, it's, maybe a day or two, submit the rounded, a little bit more black, the rounded and the toned down yellow. Just for your guys' review.
So they're allowed to have 1 square foot of sign per one.
Linear foot of tenant space.
And how many linear feet of tenant space do you have? Does Morgan & Morgan have?
I believe it's 30 by 90 deep, so they're
30,
So you got 30
feet
feet.
wide.
30 feet wide.
So
Yeah,
this
30
sign is bigger than 30 square feet.
The graphic area is what the background panel is.
Do you count the background panel, Brett?
Technically, I think in this case, if that yellow band is part of their logo, it's got to be counted.
Okay.
Wasn't,
So this sign, for instance, that they're showing, it's longer than
Isn't
50.
scaled quite right to meet the code. Yeah, we would need to go to the outside of the yellow ring if that's part of their logo, which it sounds like the whole thing is.
This is overlay district, right?
Yes.
But isn't Sharinga yellow?
Okay,
Yeah, but we'll
Kind of
scale
a-
it down
Yeah.
to where the actual circle
Atwala?
It's not, we don't have lots of yellow.
within the 30 square feet.
because the cleaver and
Like
cork.
more of a gold, it's not.
Cleaver and cork one, Brett, you had approved, I think it was the staff approval because it's black and white, and, the whole scallop is out of the scale, out of the square footage, but just the letters fit. But there is
right.
that little line and that little scallop, but not
That's part of that's part of the background. So in Cleaver and Cork, we would go from here to here and top to bottom on the round, which is what I did. But if you're saying that we have to have this yellow border, then that's part of your logo. That's got to be counted.
Okay, I just wanted to get, excuse me, I wanted to get just a little counsel from Morgan. They would
But it's not,
remove,
that's not that yellow.
they would remove the yellow band, go a little bit more black, get the sign to scale, round off the, make it not a box anymore, and remove that little line. That is on the buses, it's on every billboard, that line is part of their logo, but, it's more important to get some, larger letters, move forward and stay within the code for the letters wise, and we have 30 feet, actually, it shows a 25-foot space, so, I believe there's a little bit more room there, but if they get rid of the yellow band, they're gonna have to they wanna keep the little trademark thing up there, but, get rid of the yellow band and make the black a little larger and make it more of a oblong type background versus a square.
So you're keeping the letters same
Keep the
size?
letters the same, do away with the, so
Do away with those.
Leave the letters exactly the same as they are, do away with the yellow rule line around, was part of their logo. Make the background panel slightly larger with rounded corners.
And the muted
But
color.
but you're willing to get rid of part of your logo, but, because you were saying that this whole thing was your logo, that's what you wanted, now you're agreeing to that, but only partially,
Well,
right?
just the line, so that we stay, because Brett said that he's gonna try to include that, even though we didn't include on the cork and cleaver, they also have a line, we didn't include that.
Well,
but-
explain to you why he didn't do it in the cork and cleaver, that's not part.
Yeah, the cork and cleaver is not part of their logo. This was
Correct.
part of their logo.
I wonder if we saw the sign redesigned, if it would look different, because right now it's just very straightforward, the letters are very plain, everything's very plain. Maybe they could do something to make it look a little more historical to go with it, we could look at it then.
Yeah, the font is the one thing they can't change, but they can make the color muted, they can get rid of that line, but that font is there, that is there.
So maybe they can change the color if they can't change the font, because it sounds like some things are changeable and some
Right.
aren't.
That's
I'm
where
not
I was
getting
going, it's like, you know.
Well,
first of all-
a line is insignificant, that's why I had gotten permission, I said, is the line significant to you? And he said, it's all our logo, and I've got their sign from corporate, they're really firm, believe me, it's really a firm document, and this would be breaking all the things in that document, except for the
And I
size.
understand and I appreciate that, and definitely we want to respect, them coming to town and their logo. I think we just have to figure out, I feel like we're spending a lot of time on this and kind of spinning in circles, and we probably need to make a decision whether we're gonna move forward or not.
Yeah, I guess the more I look at this, I'm starting to think about the yellow letters too, how appropriate they are, or how maybe not appropriate they are for the center. Okay, any other questions?
I think, as Mr. Brown brought up here, we do have Chiringa's sign is the yellow. It's a more muted yellow. It's not that bright yellow, but,
It's also a different font, it's a Mexican place, I mean.
Yeah, there's a whole lot
It's very different.
more
The font.
detail to it, yeah, the wood background and.
yeah, I'm just saying, I don't,
Different font, yeah.
I mean, I'm
All
with
right.
you. There's orange on another one down
Yeah.
the way, but it's just a little bit of orange too, so.
Yeah, I went around and spent 2 hours yesterday taking pictures of all the yellow signs.
Lovely
and
you.
We don't have the plug.
Square in it.
In the
But
district.
look, see, you keep showing us ones that have a little bit.
No, show the Alpharetta Outfitters, show the,
And again, some of those applications and signs happened prior to.
the new downtown
Yes.
overlay code, right?
Yep.
So, and
All of that was.
some of those
that was
signs
all
created the
pre-
reason why to redo the code.
Right, that makes sense, yeah, I get it.
So,
Well, I
All
won't
right.
speak any more to it, but I think if we give him a day or two to come up with another version,
I think so.
taking this into consideration.
That's very different.
so defer.
We just need to know what y'all are.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion in regards to DRB 210048 regarding Morgan & Morgan that we defer the sign presented today. End of motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Rocco, a second by Ms. Palmer, and the motion is to defer the application. Any other comments or questions about the motion?
I think I don't think that does what, I think, to me, I think y'all need to tell them whether you think you're gonna go with that color, if it's got a different design or not, because if they come back with another one, then we're like, no, and so I think we're okay with a deferral, but I think it needs more direction. There was a lot of
I agree. Yeah.
We need a definition to a deferral.
yeah, there wasn't good good,
So I was gonna say, I'd like to see what that, I know it's hard to do, but I'd like to see what that silhouette behind yellow letters really plays out like. And then I am struggling with the yellow.
I thought the applicant mentioned they were going to be submitting something in the next couple days revised. That's why I went for deferral.
Do we,
but
what
I think
about the
what
goal?
they're submitting is revised background, stuff like that. If you're
Same
good
font,
with
same
the other color, then yeah, but
We gave some suggestions on different colors of letters, different font would
They
make a
can't-
difference, and we've definitely heard that they can't. So I think, what they are able to do, based on our comments, I'd love to see something change there. I don't love the yellow, but I also understand it's their brand and all of that. And I don't know what kind of authority in a sense that we have to say, no, you cannot do yellow letters, and do they still come? I don't understand that. I mean, I don't love yellow. We've denied yellow in the past.
Well, I have,
If the sign was done in more of a historical sort of way and presented differently, it might look totally different. So I don't want to say absolutely no. That's my opinion.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
it is a major concession regarding this color, so that's worth considering the evolution of all this.
Well, I think it's very clear, like, they can't change the font. The font is the font, right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
our
Really can.
trademark.
Well, he just said that they're not changing the font.
I'm fine with the font.
Yeah, I'm okay.
It's like a, pardon me for bringing another yellow color into it, but it's like a golden arch. You can do something creatively to represent that without taking it away.
For example, Turinga, since we're discussing this, it's yellow, but they're illuminated differently, and you almost don't notice the letters as much because of what's going on behind it. It's this cool piece of wood design. It kind of takes your eyes away. Right now, when you're looking at this, it screams at you bright yellow. So I think maybe something could be designed differently or created. I'm not a sign expert, but maybe something could be done to kind of take that fluorescent. We already get to see it on buses, which is great. But
I mean, for Morgan & Morgan, I'll say they would have to speak.
You know what I mean?
If they agree to mute the color some, do away with the rule line in order to do a more decorative background. But the rectangle and those letters are what they spend millions a year advertising.
I have another comment. If you look up on the center state is outlined in blue. Maybe they could do black letters and outline them in yellow to still get the yellow.
That's not their corporate.
So just
See,
a couple thoughts.
he's basically saying they're not willing to budge
I
on the
understand.
letters or the colors.
Yep, I get it. So that's why I deferred it, because we couldn't.
Well, and they have a choice. I mean, I've worked for two major corporations that have their trademark, and in both cases, we agreed to go white, which is not normal. So it's the company's choice.
Absolutely.
Is what it is.
Absolutely.
The trademark itself has got to stay.
So they'll be able to go take back whatever's.
The trademark means that nobody else can use that. It doesn't mean that it can't be changed.
Yeah, I think what we're hearing is we might have a couple of board members willing to go with the gold color, but it sounds like the majority of the board members are not comfortable with a gold yellowish color.
So do we
Yep.
need to change the motion?
No, the motion to
Defer's fine.
defer, I think this is part of the discussion on the motion, but again,
And to Richard's point with the McDonald's, the only thing in McDonald's that's yellow is the big M. McDonald's is always in white. So that's, I think, like if just maybe the and was yellow and Morgan is, whatever.
Or if it was
You can't,
M&M.
yeah, then it would be different, but it's like the whole thing is yellow. That's what I'm not like. I will not vote in favor of yellow letters.
well, and you look at the signage on the rest of the center there too, they don't have it, there's nothing like this either, so. I think we're trying to be creative on signage and get something that fits for the center. So, okay. And overlay, exactly, in the overlay. And I assume they have the language about the signage language in the overlay. They have a copy of that, or they've seen that.
Yeah, Danny's had,
Okay,
Sure.
just want to be sure. Okay. All right, so the motion on the floor is to defer. It's been seconded. We've had plenty of discussion. I'm going to end the discussion and call for a vote. All in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All opposed. No opposition, so motion passes 7-0. Okay, thank you for your time.
Thanks.
All right. Certainly.
No, you guys are good. We got it behind. If he presents, takes a lot of these suggestions into, puts it into a graphic form, presents this. The question he just asked me is, what would be the next step if that's acceptable? Because in regards to moving in and sign production and all that. I'm the builder. I'm building out the space, so I got delivered in November. So there is time to come through, maybe more time, but our goal would be to have you look at that next one and then a decision come from that. I just need to report back properly.
I think it just depends on what it is.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, if you come back again, I think with all yellow or gold letters, I think it's going to get denied.
Could he email you?
I think,
some
yeah,
options
absolutely.
to
You
get
can,
comments?
you can
That's what
email
I'm
back
saying.
and
Let us
forth.
play with
Yeah.
it and try to
Absolutely.
We've
make it
done
more
that. We've done that.
historic. I
Yeah.
just, you know.
And he can send it to us for comments and then kind
Right.
of guide you, yeah.
And I'm not a can't guy. I'm just have direction.
Well, we've
from
done
my
that
client,
before
you know.
to help people.
Yeah, we'll
meet their
absolutely work
schedule.
behind the scenes on trying to get it done quicker.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's my question. All right, thanks, everybody.
All right, thank you, Mike, appreciate it. By the way, our next meeting would be November 19th, the third Friday in November. That would
Going in the 5th, so I need
Okay,
to try to get.
well, you can do some temporary signage too. We're allowed to have some temporary signage.
Yeah, we could do, yeah. I mean, even if you got an approval today, it's not going to be ready by November 5th. It's just probably not.
Yeah,
I mean, it
production.
might, but as far as production, probably
I'd have
not.
to push Mark pretty hard.
Yeah, so,
And if you need any attorney guidance through all this, just let us know.
I sure will.
Thanks.
Ooh.
I'll help.
Okay, thank you for that. Next applicant is SEDG Investments. So come on up or come on down. Mr. Owens, you're going to be excused from this discussion since you weren't in the original one. So Mr. Corkle is, I think, running to the restroom, but we can continue on as we have a quorum. So, all right. Morning.
You want to use your computer, or do you want me to put it up, or?
Put it up, that'd be great.
All right,
I have no changes.
we'll just go with that.
Say that they closed at 5. Attorneys,
Wait, I thought secretary.
AM.
I
Thought we were doing code.
I was a paralegal. We don't close.
I'm going to start there.
Okay, all set.
We jumped ahead. We're in prim.
Oh, wait, what are we doing?
No, this is
Okay.
all set.
Go ahead.
Kenny Ellsworth from Studio Zogo. Thanks for having us back. We met with you last month and were deferred for a couple of concerns. I believe the site plan was approved, right?
Yes.
Is that right, Brett?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, yes.
Yeah, the site plan was approved. We were deferred so that we had some time to review landscape, which you have. And we took into consideration some of the suggestions that were made, and we have incorporated here. No real changes to the front, or the front being the small elevation on the left facing Roswell. The longer elevation is facing internal to the property. Most of the changes were to the backside, right, where we determined there's some from Old Mill. So if you can scroll to the next. What we did here, on the small elevation on the left there, it's only 14 feet wide. The suggestion was to put in some more of the kind of decorative bricked in look, as if there were windows that had been covered up. So we've done that. And then on the other side, the long elevation, made the window shapes a little more consistent with the rest of the building, and changed the rhythm of them a little bit to compose that elevation a little bit more.
I think it was some nice changes.
Yeah.
I think it's fabulous.
I
liked
think
it the first
really-
time, but I like it even better now.
Okay, well, thank you.
Even if it weren't all the brick, I think the window pattern and mullions in that, in that backside, I think that really helps tie it together a lot more.
Great. So aside from making it all brick, which was the other suggestion, that's the only changes we made to the building itself. And then the site, or the landscape plan is included. And we did not talk about that because it was such a late addition to the package, but you've now had it for a month, so look forward to your comments on that as well.
Okay, comments or questions for the applicant?
Well, so interior to the tower, one of the things we discussed last time was the railings and the mechanism and everything else. And is there anything right up against the glass? Is there a railing right up against the glass on that side?
No.
Just on the other side of the catwalk?
Between the cars.
Okay.
Probably.
Right. If you go to one of the floor plans, you probably see it best there.
Yeah, so I was trying to find the right rendering here, or the right floor plan.
Yeah, the railing really is on the catwalk that's in between the two, right there. And that is behind the opaque part of the wall. I know you'll see it at an angle, but there's nothing in front of the glass.
Nothing in front of the windows. Okay.
Do you know yet if that's gotta be any sort of like safety yellow or anything like that, or can it just be, your either dark or your whatever matching your lifts? I assume they're probably some sort of an aluminum color or something?
Yeah, they do not have to be safety yellow.
Okay.
And they're not a dense railing either. They'll be, minimum, it's the 21-inch rule, not the 4-inch rule.
Okay.
And what color are those railings, perchance? Which color are you going to paint those railings?
We're proposing all of the, architectural metals to be black or dark in color.
So that's considered an architectural metal, the handrails?
The
or the
handrails,
railings, or the lifts, okay. So everything's essentially going to be kind of black in there. I mean, all the structural materials.
We really want the highlight of this to be the vehicles.
Right.
Yeah,
We want
it kinda goes
the
with
railings
things.
and the lift to be distracting from the vehicle.
So I'm trying to figure out how to deal with the concern I brought up last time, that suppose this, I know what Mr. Sedgwick plans to do with this, but what if this is sold and somebody else doesn't have nice cars to put in there? They store some other stuff in there that, old cars, ugly cars, they got a boat, they put a boat in there. I mean, how could we, and I don't know if you have any ideas, how we could condition this that says for this use, you can be putting, basically attractive classic cars in there, which I think is fine, but normally if we were doing this, right, and the intent was not to show the cars, right, we would say put some horizontal elements, horizontal brick elements, maybe 3 feet tall, so you don't see what's behind there, but that defeats the entire purpose of what he's trying to do. So we're basically setting up a big showcase that could showcase anything.
Well, Chris, who gets to park? I mean, does somebody have to pay to park there? Who's like allowing the cars in and out?
Those are his cars.
So sure, it's like somebody parking in your house garage. Like, if somebody wants to park there, then you have to tell them it's okay.
Yeah, it's his own personal.
Yeah, hi, it's Chris. It's not like open for anybody to go ahead and come in and park. Most of the spaces are going to be used up by the vehicles I have coming in right now. I have one coming in from Japan as of yesterday, but I intend to fill up really with my own. I'm storing some other cars of some other guys. I have a yellow Thing, Volkswagen is kind of my thing.
So it's not like a public parking lot. Like I can't say, hey, I want to go eat at Pure. I'm going to go park in this.
No,
okay.
it won't be used.
So I think that answers your question.
No, that's not my concern. My concern is not that it's a commercial parking garage. My concern is there's no control over what gets put in there.
Chris, are you planning on the vehicles in their current state or a restorative state? What would be, so let's say you found a rare one and it's all rusted up. You gonna leave it like that, or are you gonna try and restore it?
I have one. I have an old one that's kind of rusty. It's a 1959 Volkswagen minibus. I wasn't going to restore it, but I probably will. But it's in like rolling condition. But it's not one that necessarily, there's some internal space.
I was going to say, park it internal.
More internal space, but it's kind of neat. It's like a little piece of art right now anyhow.
So if we were to, if Mr. Swing were to say a condition of maybe fully restored vehicles, are the exterior racks?
Well, I believe we'd heard something called a museum piece in our last meeting, and what that means, I don't know. What
That's kind of, yeah.
a rusted, it's kind of old classic, and I love the old van too, but to one person, where it might be like rusty here and kind of dented there, makes it kind of like an art piece, as you said. To another person, could be like, what's that old rusted thing doing?
We have one of those right out here in
Right.
Street Park.
Well,
But
I mean, have you ever seen like an old vintage Jeep or something? Like, I think they're cool. Someone else might not like them, but I think to say it's gotta be like shiny and beautiful sort of could take away from a collector's look.
But we can't condition to use what cars go in there. We can't condition.
You couldn't condition what cars, but if we're going to use it as part of the architecture, you can definitely condition what those cars appear like inside, sure.
Is the rusted out one currently parked at the Theo's place?
It's inside one of my other garages right now.
Okay.
You've been told to get all the garages emptied out, right? Is those your marching orders, empty out these garages?
From my wife.
That's what we mean.
I mean, I can see where you don't want like a junkyard, right? But if it's a collection could be all different.
My intent is that these are kind of daily drivers. They're not perfect. You know, a lot of people like patina on a lot of these cars. It's a new kind of trend with a lot of the Volkswagens that they actually kind of put a clear coat over rusty cars. That's not what most of mine are like. Most of mine are, they're not 100-point cars, but they're daily drivers, but they're 50 and 60-year-old cars. I'm putting them in there to protect them from the elements. I mean, they're really not supposed to be outside. It's not that I want a rusty bunch of cars. That's not what I'm looking to do.
I'm just trying to, for the board, just trying to help Mr. Schwing if he ends up making the motion, you know, try to craft.
We trust what Chris is going to do. What you're concerned is.
The future.
Well, right, so if we nail down the look now.
That's what I was trying to get.
Then if something in the future changes, or even if Mr. Sedgwick decides, you know what, hey, I found this 1950 that's a wreck, but you can still see the front bumper of it, that he couldn't put that one in there because it's beyond a state of whatever. I don't know how we do it. I'm just trying to think of something.
I'm trying to give you know, code enforcement the right kind of leverage that if this goes off the rails somehow, you've got the ability to go, that's not what was approved.
Would you say like well-maintained showcase or vintage cars?
Vintage restored cars.
Still going to be fairly subjective, but I do think
At least
that
it's something, yeah.
I do think that it's the possibility of the next that we're a little more concerned about, because I know we all know what you do. But it's the next possibility, and I think.
What if we use the term vintage restored cars? Would that fit?
Restored automobiles.
Automobiles?
Because
She said
some are
I mean,
banned.
Would that fit what you're, would that fit what you're doing?
I can't tell you, I can't speak to what someone might do with it later.
No, well, that's
I
why.
have 4-year-old twins.
No, we're saying, does that meet,
Condition it.
does that meet your needs? Vintage restored automobiles?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think you're gonna be
Show us what you're
displeased with what we're
Yeah.
putting out there, and
Yeah.
if we are, we'll deal with that at that point. I'll
And
put
if
it in
someone in the
something
future
else.
wants to do something different, then they have to
They have to
go
go
to
before
city
council.
approval,
They have to go before council. And then the other thing,
I kind of technically maybe no, if it's going to be.
well, that's what Kathy said last month. Kathy said last month, if somebody else buys it and they use it for a different purpose, like as a parking deck, they have to come before city council.
No, they would.
Somebody else bought it to store their personal collection in there, and their personal collection didn't look like his personal collection, we may not get to do that. If it's a personal collection, it's not gonna have business.
Well, none of us will be on the board. None of us will be on the board then.
Could you do a condition saying that if the cars aren't owned, maintained, or operated by Chris Sedgwick, that it would be need to be
you wouldn't
reapproved
have-
by DRB?
Are you planning to have any
I think we do.
cars in there?
Well, like I said, I have currently one right now, but I'm trying to get him to pick it up and get it out of his way, because I don't have a need for it, you know, so.
Well, there would be your motivation. It's not allowed in the building.
Chris, how often do you project that the vehicles will change?
He's got to
Most of
drive
them,
them.
not too much, but then,
You gotta drive
maybe
them.
the bottom levels, where,
It's going to be easier.
yeah, because it's a process to go ahead and get the ones from the top out.
Yeah.
Right. So what I was wondering is if we could do a condition that said the vehicle itself needed to get an approval.
Huh?
Send the city a picture of, okay, here's the 12 we're gonna put in, I'm gonna change it out, here's the one that I wanna put in now.
Then it becomes
Well,
subjective.
Here's my,
Subjective, no matter what we do.
Oh, vintage restored automobiles, pretty well.
I think
That's
the DRB board members should get to drive it for a week and approve, then it goes in.
you get some free
Are
bread.
you-
Can you drive a stick shift?
This one,
Is that a bribe?
Here's my thing too, is it's like,
Yeah, vintage restored automobiles.
Automobiles, yeah.
Well, he has some vans, they're not cars. I would say automobiles,
Make sure that you don't get motorcycles, boats, trailers.
automobiles.
Winnebago.
I think that.
I have a question though. So like 2 or 3 doors down from this are personal homes that have open carports. So let's say they bring home a beater and a boat. How is that different?
Because this is,
on a commercial property.
and it's right in downtown core.
And it'll be a
Downtown,
vintage
in the
restored
middle, right there
automobile.
in the middle.
I'm good.
Definitely building some houses that you could have a car, outside that's, you could have a car in a carport that's not in good condition.
Right, I mean, there's some that are currently there right now.
Well, yeah, but that's not a 4-story
Yeah, but
display
it's not-
case.
Yes.
I would
Vintage
restored automobiles. That,
or collector
Does
cars?
it matter how tall it is? If you can see it, you can
Yeah.
see it.
Well, you're not going to talk me out of my concern, so,
Like,
vintage
you can
restored
see it
automobile.
walking by it, or you can see looking up. It doesn't really matter if it's up here or down here. You can still see it regardless of where it is. So it's like,
I think it's the point that it's just more on show. It's gonna have backlit, it's gonna, it's a showpiece, and it is.
I would want to show.
or you just turn the carport light on. I don't know. I just,
Discourage or to downplay the concern, but I'm struggling with how to.
I think vintage restored is the best I can think of.
restored
Maybe that
automobiles.
gives you some leverage, so somebody, parks a, piece of
Well,
crap in there in the future, you go, hey, that was not.
A boat's not an automobile.
opinion on a piece of
Motorcycle's not
crap might not be
automobile.
somebody else's.
So call them automobiles.
Yeah.
Well, but you can use words like
It's gotta be
restorative,
operable
vintage,
or something, I don't
collector,
know.
like-
Yeah.
And I would like to say that somebody that bought this building is probably not driving too much garbage, maybe,
Chris.
maybe not.
I don't know. I learned how to drive in
As a
a
tool.
bug, so.
I think vintage restored
Yeah,
automobiles.
all right, Mr. Chairman, regarding DRB 210044 Sedg Investments, motion to approve elevation of materials as presented today with the condition that the tower will be used only for the display of vintage restored automobiles. End of motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Swing, a very quick second by Mr.
Well,
Brown.
I've been on it all day. Just let's get it done.
All right, any other, and I didn't ask for any public comment on this application. Anybody have a public comment? All right, I see, no, up there. All right, very good. All right, any further discussion about the motion that's on the floor? So I heard vintage restored automobiles is the,
I thought he said vintage historic. Did you say?
He said
Oh, you said
vintage.
restored?
Vintage restored automobiles.
automobiles is the term I heard, so that's going down in the motion. So, any other comments or questions? There being none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All opposed, no opposition. Motion passes 6-0. Thank you, Mr. Swing. We still have landscaping.
And what about this? Is that-
Yes, and Brett, the sign, have you
doing
looked at the
signage, are we?
signage? Or is that,
Yeah, we haven't talked about the signage, but
I didn't
Well-
think something in here.
if he knows what, if you guys know what the particulars are.
Do you see in the packet?
Well, just the pictures.
It was in the last one, but I don't see it in here.
Yeah.
Mount.
Illumination to it, is it flat, is it?
The intent is a flat sheet metal, enamel or powder coated sign, non-internally illuminated, but it will have a gooseneck light.
It's a
to shine down
gooseneck.
on it, a down light.
Does have yellow in it.
And where is
That's
it?
that's true.
I don't
Ignore the
know.
white around that, that's a processing error to the PDF. It is not rectangle. I think there's another image that shows the profile only.
so it'll be, so it won't have a flat, a rectangular background behind it?
Yeah, the image here shows just the cutout of
okay.
the
that's-
crest.
We want to see
So, are-
I saw the last.
Yeah, I was
63.
struggling with
That-
rectangular white
So-
background.
Yeah, I apologize. That was
Rectangular yellow.
a software issue, not.
okay.
Okay.
It could be a lot more like rust.
From a historic thing, I think
There it
it
is.
would be really authentic to have it.
Your daughter draw.
Does some sort of a roll to it a little bit,
It was painted on.
you know what I mean?
Well-
Rather than just plain flat, you give it, that gives it a little bit of a 3D look, it gives it a little bit of a shadow
Sure.
here and there kind of thing.
You're talking about like beat it up a little bit, or are you talking about?
Beat it up.
Draw one of your Volkswagen bugs over.
Yeah, give it a little bit of dimension rather than just plain flat. I think it's nice, I like it, I think it's.
It looks like a crest. Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
It is a crest. That's why it looks like
We
one.
don't see
Are
it.
you set on a white
Goes
background?
right-
That's,
No, ma'am.
it looks,
Oh, got it, I missed that part.
see that?
So Brett, this is something the board is not looking at because you're looking at this sign.
For some reason, it just showed up.
Well, I
You-
mean, technically it's in downtown, although it's
It's cool.
technically not signage either, I guess, so, yeah.
Or is it considered a sign?
No,
It's not. What is this considered then?
because it has no, there's nothing.
It says Sedgwick family on it.
Not advertising anything, not, right.
Is it kind of
Advertising anything with vehicles or anything like that.
Okay.
similar to like what a mural is? It's just
Yeah.
a picture, like,
Yeah, I think
It's
it's
a-
easy for people to make it meet the downtown
Okay.
sign design thing, but I don't think it technically is a sign.
So we can defer that to you then, for, you can submit the colors and the, okay,
I like it.
Yeah.
all right. Okay, and we've got landscaping to look at or do. I guess my question is with the landscaping, how well does that complement with the plant materials that are already on site there in that property? So do they have horn beams out there already? Do they have some of the other plant materials elsewhere on the site so that it kind of incorporates?
That's a fair question. There's not a whole lot there
On there, right.
in this part of the site. I did not prepare this myself.
Okay.
So I don't know how well I can answer that.
So was this landscape plan done by an engineering firm?
This was done by, yeah,
Graydon.
So here's two things. I don't like the shrub selection and these little clumps that go around the building. It's got no relation to anything. It's just some shrubs that are picked out, and I'm not sure who picked them, but butterfly bush and maiden grass and all that stuff. There's no relation to the scale of the building or the true architecture of the building, in my opinion. And again, it's three clumps here, and then there's another three clumps of it there, and there's another three clumps of it there. It's just not.
You're not going to get a lot.
Do you have some suggestions?
You're not going to get a lot to grow between this structure and this structure next door.
It's just, yeah, it doesn't really do anything for me.
There's not a whole lot of space around the
Right,
building.
yeah.
We did want to keep it low for the bulk of the front.
Yeah, but with the true lines of the architecture, these clumps of things, there's no relation to the architecture itself other than, why not have something, I see the, where was it? Inkberry Holly, why not just have a row of something at the base of the building that relates back to that arch, and then you have maybe a few things that scale that in between. Anyway, not a fan of it. And then you've got a paper bark maple that you want to transplant. Are you transplanting it, digging it, and planting it, or are you digging it, storing it, bringing it back? Because digging it, storing it, bringing it back is not going to work. I'll let you guys work that out with the arborist.
Sure.
And again, to Richard's point, does this have any relation to anything else on that site as far as, are there corn beans or are there dogwoods out there anywhere?
Mr. Corkle, would you be amenable to a condition that said something, one of you all making a motion that said that Gryden consult TBB 122's landscape architect and coordinate plantings with their landscape architect? One reason why they wanted to use the horn beams is that narrow canopy, which makes sense to keep
Those I
it
get.
there. Yeah.
Those I get.
So the parking lot for TVB 122 is going to be the closest thing to this building. So if it coordinates somewhat with there, it doesn't have to be the same, but if it coordinated,
Thus the question, was it coordinated?
I don't think it was at this point.
Neither do I.
So he's asking, would you be?
So would you be,
Just send it through you, but it's just not a very good design.
okay. And we
Unless
would,
that's the intent, to just have it very loose and free and have a few things here and a few things there. But it doesn't do the architecture justice.
and we get Chris's folks to work with, I think it is,
Not me. I'm done.
did Pete Bilson do hers? Do you know? I think it makes sense to coordinate it. I don't think it has to match, but I think it does make sense to coordinate it and have a little bit better
I get it, it's
look
a
to
little
it.
building,
Yeah.
but this doesn't relate to the building.
Well, some of it, Pat, is due to the requirement to have a tree, in the landscape buffer and to do that. I personally like the horn beam because I didn't want a big canopy spread.
That's really the only thing I like.
Well, the other tree, the maple that's over there, it's an existing tree that I want to move because I planted it, I like it, it's neat. So
Did you hear my question on that, though?
What?
Is the plan to spade it out, store it, and bring it back, or is the plan to pull it and plant it right away? Because if
I
you,
wanna
if you
pull
pull
it.
it, store it, and bring it back,
the idea was to pull it and to plant it right away. It's got to be moved 45 feet is all. I could cut it down and plant another one a lot cheaper, but I like the tree.
I get it.
I want to try to keep it.
If you're gonna store it, you're just gonna lose it probably.
Yeah, and we're also trying right now, Ralph Graydon is, Ralph Davia is with Graydon Engineering. Michelle just got an LDP for TBB, and we're gonna try to coordinate the two because the site, this part of the site is so small, and we've got to remove 2 foot of dirt. She has to remove 2 foot of dirt, it has to be taken off site, and then, because she's going with 2 foot of stone and so on and so forth, because our site's so small, it makes sense for us to try to do all that at the same time too, so. Anyhow, that's it.
So that just need to be in the motion to coordinate it, or go to the staff?
I think you do, I think you need to make a motion that gives it to staff.
Yes.
And that's what we'll do. We'll get Ralph to, I just saw Ralph yesterday, we'll just get him to
Who's Ralph?
Ralph Davia, he's the Graydon.
Landscape guy.
Great.
But we'll get him to coordinate with Michelle's, because he's also doing Michelle's, with the landscape thing, and then we'll get it to David and maybe send it to you and Richard if you want to, or whatever. Well, actually, we can't send it to Richard, we can send it to you.
Send it to me.
Yeah.
Get him to tweak it up,
Okay.
then we'll send it to you.
All right, I'll make a quick one. Regarding DRB 210044 Sedge Investments, defer landscaping per our discussion and coordinate the design with staff. End of motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Corco. Was that a second by Ms. Palmer? Who said that? Ms. Palmer, all right. Thank you, Holly.
Anyone in the,
Yeah, I didn't.
reminder.
I know. I've got this reminder behind my name tag here. Before we talk about the motion, is there any public comment about this application? Nope. No shaking heads. No public comment. All right. Now we can discuss the motion on the floor is to defer the landscaping. Any other comments or questions? There being none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All opposed, no opposition. Motion passes 6-0. All right.
There you go.
Thank you for your time this morning. I appreciate it.
We don't need to do a motion for the sign.
No, because it's, okay. Very good. Thanks for your time this morning. Somebody want to get,
Michelle's, what is it when you keep talking about Michelle? Which property is it?
the house on the, what's the street that runs down there beside? Marietta, yes. She's got that house. That's a house, the residential house they're converting.
But isn't it the Theo's?
I don't know. Okay, all right, next applicant this morning is PRIM Residential. Looks like you're here. Come on up. Come on down, please.
Yeah.
Welcome back, Richard.
Oh, I didn't know that.
If you will, make sure you introduce yourself this morning, speak into the microphone, and give us an overview of what we're looking at today.
Can I plug in a new presentation?
Yes, you probably need Lauren's help.
It's kind of weird to me. I mean, I have a Cuso in my lot.
Welcome back.
My Cuso's in full sun.
Lively discussion.
Full on. My Cuso's in full sun. It's happy as a swing.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, my other dogwood, my regular one is in shade. Cuso is one, and then it died. And then replanting it with another one, and it's just happy as a thing. Go nuts.
Depends on the growing. They're grown in full sun at the nursery. If they pull up in the shade.
And it's just not started. I guess didn't it take them a few years to start flowering? Like it's spending all its time growing. I think it's spending all its time growing.
Sir, said, then I've got another one that does.
Presents.
Yes.
I don't really know what I'm looking at.
It's there now. And this is what they're proposing.
You guys think?
Next. Or it could be a weird question today. As long as we don't figure it out. So booger.
Lauren.
Fast. All right, come.
But this just needs better.
Whatever, sitting around and parking pictures on the stack.
Right.
In my front yard.
We could have taken 5 minutes.
Yeah, of course, I'm sure the birds that were feeding off them were like, for real? Go away. And the chipmunks. We're ready to vote.
We probably don't need her to plug in. We just have 3 images and you can put on the screen. Maybe, you think?
Well, there is some retention to that.
So what you're gonna pull up on your computer, is it the same? All right, well, if, yes, I think we're good, just walking us through what you want to do. Just make sure you speak into the microphone, please. Or the handheld one, yes, either one.
Hi, I'm Melanie Levy. I'm the property manager at Amaranth Apartments, located right across the street from you all. Currently, the first picture, Exhibit A, shows you our front door that our residents and guests and delivery people use. The second exhibit shows you a current decorative overhang.
I'm sorry, Melanie, I'm gonna just interrupt you here. So the entrance, that's on the right-hand side. You've
Correct,
got
the double doors
to the right.
are on the right, and then
Okay.
there's 2 sets of windows to the left of that double door.
Okay, very good.
And over the door and over the windows, currently, there's a decorative awning that looks like Exhibit B.
Okay,
So what happens now when residents come up and they have a dog and they're fumbling to find their keys, or if a guest is there using the call box, they're getting, rained on. Or if it rained a few hours ago or the day before, there's drips that, happen that land on them. So we would like to add the union corrugated metal to the existing awnings. Over at the Maxwell, I took a picture of an awning that looks like ours, but they have that corrugated metal on top that would provide the coverage so our residents and guests would not get wet when they're there trying to enter the building. Awnings above is the company that we've used previously. They would match the color of the new metal to match the brown that's currently there. So aesthetically, it would look the same in uniform. And we're proposing to do it not only over the double doors, but over the window so that it will have a consistent, look.
Do you know about adding corrugated metal on top of the existing awnings, not changing out the awnings
Not
entirely?
changing out the awnings.
oh, okay.
Just adding that metal to the top so it'll look like that Maxwell picture, Exhibit C.
And what about the turnbuckle portion?
The what portion?
The turnbuckle?
Attached to the building.
Cabling or whatever you want to call that,
So
as the
that-
Maxwell elevation shows?
Right, so that would not be added, it wouldn't be needed. Our current awning is there, it's into the building, it's substantial enough to hold the weight of that additional metal that we would add.
Yeah, I guess the turnbuckles look cool, but your current awnings are only as wide as the window.
So you couldn't use.
They don't extend past to the brick.
Correct.
So it's not going to solve your call box problem.
It won't solve
That's
the
out
call
from,
box.
it's out from under the awning.
Their hand will get wet, much better than their hair.
You can push the button and run under the
So
awning.
they're just
Right.
adding
Let the
a,
dog do
why
that.
are we looking at this?
You can reach the call box, from
Change.
standing right in front of the door, so they would be covered.
They were doing it until yesterday.
Okay. So just corrugated metal, and then I guess you're going to have to do something around there's going to be something going around wrapping the edge?
If we need to, yes. We were thinking it would set just pretty much right on top because the picture, it's got about a 2-inch solid
Yep.
area. So, they were saying they could drill it, right in.
Okay.
To the top, so it shouldn't overhang, to make it look,
Yeah,
different.
the front of the current awning is sort of a bullnose, right? It's a
Yes.
rounded, so they'd have to hold it back from,
Yes.
from the front a little bit.
So a question about your proposed piece. It's going to slip on top of the existing piece
It will,
and cover it simply to give you
Probably not.
solid coverage.
exactly.
Okay, that's quite simple.
Otherwise, it won't look really any different.
It won't look
Just
any-
Covered versus open.
Exactly. I think the appearance is going to look exactly the way it does now, other than you'll see on the corrugated metal, how you see the little, seams. that kinda
Actually,
stick
it's
up.
an,
I think that's all.
corrugated metal or standing seam?
It's the corrugated metal like what you see on the,
Because it looks like standing
That's
seam on the.
seam on the exhibit C. That's called-
Corrugated is,
the ripple.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, when, they said it's union corrugated metal, which is like that. It's,
Corrugated, that's.
I think standing
Yeah, we
seam would
don't-
look better than corrugated,
yeah,
right?
we're not going to do the ripple. We are going to do the solid lines.
Has the fin,
how it
like the
shows,
fins on
yes,
it. Okay.
Exactly.
So it'd be
How it
standing,
shows in
standing seam, okay.
Exhibit
I think
C.
that's better, yeah.
Okay.
That's just above the one door.
No, in the windows.
The door and the windows,
Add in the window.
so that it'll look
Okay, so
consistent.
that's all you need to see.
It would just be on that one side of the building.
Right.
The picture will.
It's just sitting.
All right, any other questions? Any public comment about this application? Okay,
Mr. Chairman, regarding DRB 210050, Prim Residential, motion to approve the addition of standing seam metal to the current awnings as presented.
okay, a motion by Mr. Swing, a second by Ms. Rocco. Any further comments or questions about the motion? Okay. There being none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All opposed, no opposition. Motion passes 7-0. Thank you for your time
Thanks.
this morning.
Joe Morgan,
Okay.
you're right.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, next application is
There you go. Thank you.
TPA 400, Toll Residential. Come on down. Thank you for your patience this morning. I know we take a break typically at 12 o'clock for recess, but we will, if there's no exceptions from board members, we'll continue on with this application because this is to be our last one.
As long as we don't,
I agree. Well chosen, Richard.
as long as we don't have any quick questions.
Who are you looking at? Okay,
Pat? No quick questions today.
Pardon me?
No quick questions.
Right? Is that how I usually phrase things?
Yeah.
oh, thank you.
Quick question, 30 minutes later.
Do I say that really?
Yes. We need to see what
We all say that.
Well, today was a weird question. You
I do
didn't use
accept
quick.
tips.
You had a weird question.
We ain't gonna be able
I don't think I like you guys focusing in on
I think you can walk through them with the paper. Yeah, it's a little bit.
Is this an update to what was submitted?
Yes, it's an update. These are the last two pages, so I think it's 2.1 and 2.2 or 2.3.
Nice feature.
Okay, if you'll make sure you're speaking to the microphone, introduce yourself now this afternoon and give us an overview of what we have in our packet, please.
All right, name is Matthew Scott. I'm with Site Solutions, representing the Toll Brothers townhome site at Lakeview, CP, there's a bunch of names for it, but Lakeview, I think, right now. This is our first pass of coming into the DRB with the landscape plans. Is in keeping with everything else that we've presented to y'all to date. Same plant palette, just, different little configuration around the fronts and backs of these townhome buildings. There is a central amenity green area that has a mailbox pavilion done by others, but the central green is kind of directed towards the Alpha Loop, and there's a little detention pond planned south of that, and that's shown on the first sheet on 2.0. And there's two, and if you're familiar with the site, on our previous ones, the townhomes have two kind of parcels on this development. One's a grouping of about 30 or so units, and the other one has 16. So if you go to the second page, you can see the overall master plan. And we've kind of highlighted the two sites for the townhomes.
Matt, refresh my memory. The front, street trees couldn't go in because of utility?
We were able to sneak in about 3 willow oaks, but there are 2 utilities coming in there. I think there's a sewer easement as well as, I want to say, stormwater drainage that comes through down to this site through there.
And they have associated easements, it's not, it has associated easements with that.
It does, yes.
It's not private because it's not on site, right?
Yeah.
Belongs to the street.
So we were able to, before our first DRB, I think we had no trees in there because of the easement, and we were able to snake in a few more. We also have, I think there's a transformer located up there too as well, off of Lakeview.
So you're talking about along Lakeview, Pat, is that what you were referring to?
Yes.
The Lakeview?
Yeah, it's right.
The curved.
Yeah, the curve right there.
Or the curved road, okay.
I'm just, there's a gap in the shrubs for some reason. There's I think is the transformer out there, there's a gated object out there.
The transformer, that's where your transformer, the gated is. And then I think that gap is supposed to be, is a missing another tree. That's where, it was on the DRB road package and LDP for the road package, that's where that plant material is located.
So what's that gap for?
No, I think we can put,
4-0,
I think we can put a tree in there. That's what's missing there. So what I've done for this file is I've kind of just shown the enhancements to the townhome sites.
Gotcha.
And then the roadway package takes care of the evergreen screen along Lakeview plus the street trees we were able to put in its place.
Okay. I'm good.
Yeah, I think
we should keep you here longer just because you've been here so long.
Yeah.
Thanks. All right, any questions for the applicant on the landscaping? I think they've kept the plant material the same, so. Any public comment?
Hello?
All right,
Crickets.
just checking.
I will offer a motion on TPA 400, DRB 210031, that we approve the landscape plan as submitted today. End of motion.
I second.
Okay.
If Matthew doesn't mind us going through this thing too quickly.
A motion by Mr. Corkle, a second by Mr. Owens. Any further comments or questions about the motion? There being none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All opposed, no opposition. Motion passes 7-0. All right, Matt, thank you for your time this afternoon.
Matt.
Appreciate your patience. All right.
Hey, Matt.
There being no further business, and with no objections from board members, this meeting is hereby adjourned. All right. Lauren, we wish you the best of luck. We hope to see you.
We expect to see
So-
you.
Yes,
Okay?
We will miss your face.
We're gonna start to take this personally.
Yeah, no kidding.
Okay.
I mean, it must be us.
It is.
I think it's Pat. Facing away.
They've placed me far away from that side for a reason.
Wow.
Not far enough.
I don't know what to say about you and Roger.
Oh, that's a good point. Maybe
Wow.
it's us.
Could be. That's okay. That would be. That'd be Richard's fault, because you're the newest one, and we never had this
We had
problem.
Elliot for a long time, so Richard.
Yeah. I
You
gotta,
chased her away, now you chased her away.
I gotta quit being so rowdy.
Yeah, no kidding.
No, you're okay.
Bill on you.
You're good. I'm going to the chiropractor, so I can.
Might not need you now.